It's the 5th day of July, 2015, and this is the Radical Agnostic, where ideology goes to die. Episode 18, kicking it. My name's John, I'm your host. The stowaway guest today is Lieutenant Nick Richardson. And my co-host is Mark Beef. What's up, Mark?
Wake up, America. You're hungover.
Yeah. I am, too. But here I am, working. I'm at work.
Don't have any fingers blown off, right?
No, I don't.
That's good.
And I did light off some fireworks in the middle of downtown last night at about midnight. We found like a little like a nook where people couldn't see us, and I set off some old sparklers and stuff.
Set off some sparklers.
It was crazy.
That's pretty hardcore.
There were sparks.
Some snakes.
No, I had.
Did you write your name in the air?
I did a heart. No, I had some loud things too. A couple of guys and I drove to New Mexico like a year ago. It was like a 2-hour drive to.
You know they sell them here, right?
Yeah. Well, there were the big signs that were like, "Go to New Mexico, like phantom fireworks," like where they have the actual stores.
No, right.
Because they don't have those here.
Well, they do. Like right around 4th of July, they do.
Oh.
They're in the parking lot of like Fry's.
Yeah. But the whole point is there's a certain class of fireworks that is illegal here still in Arizona. Like you can't get M80s, you can't get bottle rockets.
Yeah, you can.
Not the little ones, and not M80s. No, you can't.
Yeah, you can buy both.
Where?
At Fry's?
No,
any
you
place
can't.
you get?
M80s will blow up a mailbox, Mark. It's a quarter stick of dynamite.
I understand that.
You can't get them at Fry's.
They definitely have bottle rockets, and the big ones and the small ones.
Well, I know that it was idiotic to drive to New Mexico for fireworks. That's what I'm telling you. We got there, and they didn't have anything that they don't have here. So it was just like, we just treated it as like a fun afternoon.
Which, by the way, Arizona, everything else is legal in Arizona.
Right.
Except fireworks.
Except the hardcore.
Yeah.
Well, and so that stuff is legal now. It's just not legal to light it off in the state.
Oh.
It's legal to buy. You just can't blow it up. Yeah. Can't use it.
Well, that's another one of those brilliant laws.
That's what they should do with guns. You can buy them and own them. You just can't use them.
Oh, Katie Rogers was supposed to be here, but she got sick and she couldn't make it. So hopefully we'll have her back next
Get well,
week.
Katie.
Yeah. Have you guys ironed out your differences, Mark? You haven't spoken at all.
As far as I know, I mean, I never knew we had any differences, but
Neither one.
I mean, I know that there's some differences, like
male and female.
yeah, I'm not sure which one's which. But
Right.
I know one of us is one and the other's the other.
Oh man, I don't know. 2 weeks in a row now, and Paula, if you don't want me to talk about this, we can cut it out later. But 2 weeks in a row now, we went downtown, and myself, and my girlfriend Paula, and other people, and guys have like groped or like otherwise inappropriately touched her, and not in like a outright like horrible way or anything, but like the one was a guy we actually know, and like,
Was he drunk?
yeah, and I wasn't there at the moment, and so she bent over and he like snapped her thong, and then she told me about it later, and I confronted the guy and everything, and he was super apologetic and everything, but it wasn't really sincere. And then last night some guy just like kind of like touched her shoulder or something, and he didn't have to. And she's had a lot of much worse stuff in the past, but like the whole thing is, it's really weird to know how to deal with that in the moment as me, as the boyfriend, because it's like I both times I was staring the guy in the face and like I don't know, telling him to apologize or whatever, and they did. And then it's just like, what should I do exactly? It's a very thin line between should I like punish this person physically? Because I'm angry that they did it and that it bothered her, but I don't like get worked up into a froth like some guys do. And I'm not like irrationally angry at the moment, but I am wondering, like, you know, should some kind of punishment, justice be served here? Or should you just be the mature person and walk away? And both, like last night, the other guys, they were drunk and both times they were not threatening people at all. In fact, it was the other way around, and they were obviously terrified of me because I was right up in their face. And so that's the big reason. Like, if the guy had started talking back to me and then we were pushing and yelling, I'm sure it would have ended up in some kind of fight. But both times the guy was just kind of like, oh, man, this is a misunderstanding. And they were drunk.
Yeah.
So I just don't have it in me to just hit a guy who's standing there in front of me.
Yeah.
Or choke him out.
Well, that's good, because then you would have an assault charge, and they would,
Yeah, it's possible.
It'd be hard for you to kind of defend that, even if they did touch your girlfriend, and
Yeah, because that's assault too, but
well, right, but then it's.
But it wasn't assault on me, and yeah.
Well, but I'm just saying it's you proving that, and it's easier for them to prove that you attacked them
right.
in a room full of people than that, oh, well, you touched her shoulder in a
right.
not so nice way, or, whatever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not the legal thing I'm worried about as much. It's just I just in those situations, I want to know what the right thing to do is. Because on the one hand, I want Paula to know that I'm always her advocate and that I'm there to, defend her if she needs it. But on the other hand, I'm not a violent or aggressive person, so
I think you did the right thing. I think the best thing to do is call them out on it, draw their attention to what they did, and tell them why it's wrong, and
yeah,
so that they maybe don't do it in the future.
Yeah,
and then if they're apologetic and whatever, then let it go at that.
I guess. I mean, the one guy last night there were two of them, and the friend came up and like flanked me while I was yelling at the other guy.
Yeah.
And then I put my hand on his chest and I shoved him away, but because he was, you can't do that. You can't box someone in like that with two guys. But anyway, maybe
do the same thing to them, whatever they did to Paula.
Yeah.
Snap their thong or
yeah.
I think you just, it's whatever the situation dictates. Because, there's a difference between, putting their hand on her shoulder, and does that deserve to be punched? Maybe not. But, there's definitely stuff that can warrant that. And also, like you said, just how aggressive they are about it. After you say something, do they continue to, to act a certain way, or do they realize what they did? I just think it's weird that some people have that gene where they get drunk and they just get really handsy. Yeah. Because I've noticed that before. Everyone's a different kind of drunk. Like, we all know the guys that get drunk and they get super, like, they want to fight everyone. Mm-hmm. And they get super angry. And then there's the guys that get drunk and they get, like, really inappropriate with women. And that's a weird thing to me.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. It's probably a giant chunk of the sexual assaults that go down are these guys who get intoxicated and then lose their inhibitions.
Yeah, because that's something that's in you before you got drunk, and the act of getting drunk just made you feel free enough to act on these impulses that you probably have when you're sober. Yeah, and that's those people scare me because like you said, that's the same guy that will then eventually cross the line even more with another woman,
right?
And then you've got those. Not that you punching him would solve that for him.
No,
you punching him probably
make it worse because guys like that, people who victimize weaker or smaller people, I don't know, it's bigger, stronger people probably beating them up has contributed somewhat to them being that way in the first place. So it probably wouldn't help. There was a study in the 70s that showed that among I guess like 1 in 3 males has this gene, and if you have that gene and you get physically abused, like you at all, like if your dad beats you like once a year or something, then there was among those boys there was like 100% chance that they would grow up to be violent. It was like a very strong correlation. So if they had that gene, which 1 out of 3 males does, and they got hit, it was gonna go bad for them later. So a lot of people don't realize that, men, of course, are by and large, by far, the more violent sex and the more responsible for criminal behavior by far, and rape and everything. But a lot of that has to do with what they went through when they were kids. And like I've said before on the show, boys get hit more than girls, and mothers do more of the hitting than fathers. So, part of this whole stopping sexual assault thing is going to be, it's not just teaching men not to rape. It's not hitting your kids. If you're a mother, that's your responsibility not to do that. But I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, and it is kind of tied up in rape culture, but I don't know how much someone being handsy and someone being violent is similar. You know what I mean? I think a lot of guys that go to the bar and start having a couple drinks, and they're like, they're flirting or hitting on someone or whatever, and they're just more, some people are more, what's it called?
Physical, hands-on.
Well, yeah, and just more that they're more aggressive, they're more confident, they're more whatever, instead of just like talking to someone saying, hey, what's your name, blah, blah, blah. They'll their version of hitting on someone is, yeah.
I think it's just a boundary issue too sometimes.
Oh,
I agree with Beef that there's a difference between the violent sex offenders and the guys that, I was kind of talking about that are more, they're not necessarily going to go out and violently rape somebody, but they're the guy that's going to take advantage of a situation.
Yeah.
Where they can kind of cross a line.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Where there was
or don't even realize there is a line.
Yeah, and that's why they don't understand maybe that concept, or they don't respect that concept as much, and
or they've met women in the past who didn't mind
receptive to that. Yeah,
so
that happens as well.
Yeah, that's pretty confusing. Yeah, I just didn't know how to. Although the first guy though that we kind of know, the thong snapping guy. His whole response to it was so passive aggressive. It was weird, man, and it gave me the creeps.
Well, that's a crazy thing to do in the first place.
Well, are you friends with him, or just someone you know?
He's an acquaintance. Okay. I'm not friends with him anymore after that. And he was like, ugh. I was in his face about it, and I was like, you can't do that. You don't know. You need to know. You don't know this individual woman's boundaries, so don't make any assumptions and break those and do something inappropriate like that. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry or whatever. And Paula and I were saying, you don't look genuine. He's like, I'm being genuine. And she said, yeah, you wouldn't know how to be genuine even if you tried. And then he goes, then teach me. And I'm like, get away. I just told him, get away from here. Go away. I hate you. You suck. Teach me. It was so.
But maybe he was just drunk. Maybe he was just being. Maybe he was still like hitting on her, sort of. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I was in his face. I mean, I don't think he would be that silly to do that. But.
Well, there's a lot of dudes that are like I'll be at the bar not with a girlfriend but just with a girl, and some dude will come along and like fucking totally like start hitting on her in front of me, like sit down at the table, and it's just like, all right, dude, whatever, like
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's plenty of dum-dums out there, so I'm not.
No, I'm telling you.
I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
It's just I detected a strong whiff of passive aggressive horribleness.
Well, again, that's just such a weird thing to do in the first place.
Yeah.
To, snap someone's thong, like grab it, like I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
Well, the girl he was
to
with,
think in any way that was like an appropriate thing, or that wouldn't be met with.
well, he was all over the girl that he was with, who was our friend too, and she was just okay with it, but he was like, and they were not together or a couple or anything, but he wished that they were.
So maybe he was getting caught up in the moment, and whatever.
Mm.
I'm not trying to make any excuses for him.
Yeah.
But I'm just...
Paul, if you want to say anything about it, you can hop on.
No, I think you're explaining pretty well.
Okay. I'm going to edit this show.
You always say that.
Yeah, but this time I am. What was I going to say about... well, anyway. What else? Current events. We got...
How was Bill Burr?
Oh, yeah, I saw Bill Burr at the casino last weekend. Paula got me a ticket. It was awesome. It was super funny. I think about half the material was new. Half of it wasn't. I noticed, though, he's a liberal guy, but he makes fun of, like, women a lot and, like, lefty liberals a lot. But it was interesting because I noticed that Tucson audiences, man, if you get enough Tucson people together, they do lean to the right. They're more conservative than they are liberal. Like, he said something as a joke. He said something about guns or whatever, and just the whole room broke out into applause, and he was like making fun of the audience because he was like, "That's not what I meant," And so I don't know, man. It was but it was really funny, and that guy's the best. So
Tucson's kind of a weird place like that, though, where we're a lot more liberal than the rest of the state.
Yeah.
But that's not saying much.
No.
I mean, it's one of the most conservative states out there. But
and you get a lot of, like, Hispanic conservatives here. I think because the population's been here for a long...
it's a big Catholicism thing, too.
Yeah. But they've become established here, where there's so many families that are old, well-established families with family businesses and good jobs and careers and everything. And I think that's when you get more conservative people.
Well, and then a lot of the old-school Hispanic thing, too, a lot of those are... And it's the one word that I can't pronounce very well. Rural.
Rural.
I don't know. It's the one word I've never been able to pronounce in my life. But, it was a very agricultural, sort of culture for a while. So you get a lot of that kind of country conservatism out of it, too, I think.
Yeah. I posted a video of you guys see that Mexican laborer, day laborer, or whatever, construction guy who's talking about Trump? Yep. And he's just hammering, like, stakes into the ground and talking to the camera the whole time. And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "I'm lazy, huh?" He's like, "Look at these guys. We're baking in 115-degree sun doing this work." And Trump's calling us rapists and stuff. But at the same time, this guy, he was saying, like, I make this much money a week, and $300 of it goes to taxes to pay for drug addicts and bums. So he was kind of conservative himself. Talking, I don't know.
Although I think he was kind of joking around about that, though.
You do?
I think he was. Yeah, it didn't.
I got the sense that he resented the tax money, his tax money going to, like, social programs, but maybe not.
I mean, he might resent that, but I just meant in his diatribe, what he was talking about, it seemed to me like because he was making some sarcastic remarks, and then he said that. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was like, "Oh yeah, look at me raping. I'm raping these steaks. I'm done."
Yeah.
So
that's
it was
true.
Kind of,
Yeah.
I think too we tend to kind of lump, like, all minorities in together, and we assume that all minorities have the same views and the same interests, but it really isn't the case. I mean, culturally, all the minorities are just as different as they are from the white culture. So.
Right.
To assume that, oh, well, they're a minority, so they must be liberal, is not necessarily the case. Because, again, Catholicism plays a huge role in their culture, and Catholicism is very conservative.
Right.
It's like you talked the other a couple weeks back about how, whenever there's a high black voter turnout, gay marriage tends to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
But we look at them and we go, oh, well, they're a minority, so they must be liberal on every issue, and that's just not the case. There's still issues where they
Yeah.
You know, as a culture can be both sides of the fence.
And you'll get something like the Cuban population in Florida, who's just like overwhelmingly Republican, like very much conservative.
Or you get the Asian minorities who can be conservative, or even the Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
You know, the Muslim minorities who can be extremely conservative.
Right.
Even though the conservatives are the ones that hate them.
Well,
you know,
in this country, but in their country, you know, it's different.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
conservatives.
I'm saying once they come to America, they still retain a lot of that conservatism, and
well, because the things that they hate are still things they hate too. You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. But just to
Cubans
assume,
hated communism.
Just to assume
and
though
Fidel
that
Castro, and that's like
Right.
Yeah,
that's
so
a
they're very
liberal
anti-
that's
ideology.
liberal. That's
yeah.
what, you know.
I say just to assume though that because someone is maybe not popular within the Republican ranks, you know, a certain minority, doesn't mean they can't support that minority or
That
the
candidate.
Republicans.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No, well, that's just political parties believing that they've got voters in their pocket. You know, they're like, oh, you're black, you're voting Democrat. Oh, you're this, you're voting that. You know.
Well, and that's the thing, though. When you do look at the large numbers of any minority group, they almost all of them will lean left and vote Democrat in the majority of those of any minority. But after the Mitt Romney loss, you know, they were analyzing the Republican Party did like an autopsy, and they said, you know, we have to get minority voters in the next election, or we're just never going to win again.
But again, just to say minority, like
well,
as
Hispanic.
a group, like all minorities. So they're talking about Hispanics.
Hispanic.
Because what
They
Hispanic
gave up
voters
on black.
want,
They've
isn't the
given
same
up
as
on the
what
black.
other minorities will want. So you can't
Right.
You can't just
But it's the biggest minority.
right. What's the one that they still have a chance of getting?
Right. And like Jeb Bush is actually a pretty good Republican candidate in that regard. He's fluent in Spanish. His wife is Hispanic as hell.
I mean, Marco Rubio too.
Rubio is Hispanic,
Yeah.
so those two both. It has to
Well,
be
I mean,
one
and-
of them.
And Ted Cruz is too. I think Ted Cruz is a much longer shot because he's a little
He'll never
out
make
there.
it.
I'm saying though, I think though, I mean, you can see right there, 3 of the biggest Republican candidates are either Hispanic or have very strong ties to.
Ted Cruz is like technically Hispanic.
I think he's Cuban.
Okay, not really though. Like 1/8 or something, or is Cruz? Is that is a Hispanic name though, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Obama's only half black. Do we not consider him? I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at a certain point, it's a lot more Hispanic than any other Republican.
Not Rubio.
Serious
He, you know,
no,
he's
that's
true
what I'm
blue.
saying. This
Not
election's been a lot.
and Romney's family was from Mexico.
Yeah.
That
But
was
they're
right.
ethnically white
Yeah.
though.
There's white
They
people
were.
in Mexico.
I know, but you're not Hispanic if you're a white
No,
person.
you are.
No,
Yes,
you're
you are.
not.
Look, go fill out
Both-
a government form sometime because
they have
when you fill it out,
Spanish heritage.
it says white,
Mark.
and then it says non-Hispanic or Hispanic.
I know.
No, but
part
both
of
of
the
his
white.
parents were born in America. They were
Yeah,
white people.
they were
They
European-
simply lived in
Anglo
Mexico.
Europeans. If you're a white person in Mexico who has Spanish heritage, then you're still Hispanic, even though you're white, because a lot of Spanish people look white. That's what's going on.
I mean, that's
there.
like John McCain was born in Panama, I believe. It doesn't make it.
I understand, but if you're born in Mexico, I'm not saying he was, but if you are,
you're Mexican,
Yes.
but you're not Hispanic.
Maybe not, but
Okay.
there's Mexicans who will say they're not Hispanic, and they are.
Are Hispanic.
No, but they're whatever you want to call it, darker skin, blah blah blah. You know,
Well, they're just wrong about their own identity.
or Latino, or
We
got to
keep it simple.
there's
We have
all-
to draw lines here so that we can speak about things. Anyway,
If you had to choose from a Republican candidate,
if I had to choose,
Yes.
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul,
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
definitely. I
interesting.
think.
any reason?
Yeah, because he's a half libertarian, and I like that, and he agrees with me on drug laws, on war, and on something else. Probably Second Amendment. I'm probably on the same page as him. Although he would go states' rights on that, but that's what he does with drugs. He wants it to be a state thing, which isn't quite what I'm looking for, but. Yeah, so I would pick him for sure, and I actually thought he might have a good chance of it for a while, but I don't think he'll be the nominee now.
Yeah, I thought at one point he was maybe a front runner, but it's starting to look like he might not be. You see, Rand Paul, and again, you can nitpick little things from any candidate out there, but one thing about Rand Paul is, you know, he's a doctor,
Yeah.
And yet he came out very publicly and said he's anti-vaccination. Which, again, it's a small thing, but to me, it just screams...
Well, he's switched now,
he's
right?
Disingenuous.
He's switched now.
I don't know if he ever officially came out. I mean, this was not that long ago. This was like within the past year. He came out and said that, vaccines should...
I think didn't he say that it should be the parents' choice? He didn't say that they were
he
bad.
came out. No, I think he came out and said though that he claimed that there were studies that showed that there were Jim Carrey is losing his mind right now, posting things about vaccine because California just instituted a law where they're mandatory. Have to be
vaccines are mandatory in California now. And
it's to attend public schools.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, which is what, in my opinion, is what it should be. If you want to go to a public school, then you should be vaccinated. If you want to go to a private school, you want to be homeschooled, then
you're still putting other kids at risk, though.
Well, if that private school's policy is that you don't have to be vaccinated to attend that private school, then that's their choice. And the other parents who send their kids to that private school know that that's a possibility.
Yeah, but you're still increasing the risk for every other kid in the state or in the area because there's birthday parties and stuff.
No, you are, but I'm saying again, I think it's progress. I think you got to take a little steps because you can't say forced vaccinations because that will never fly.
That's freaky.
But you can start to take away things from people who choose not to get vaccinated.
That's irrational.
You start with, hey, you're not going to go to public school around all these kids and not be vaccinated.
Girls too, or just boys?
Both.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Why?
Girls can get vaccinated?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, I just thought boys could.
Vaccines.
Isn't it called something else
for diseases
for women? Sterilization.
You're thinking about a vasectomy.
Oh,
we're talking about vaccines for fucking smallpox and stuff.
Yeah, measles and mumps and.
In Mark's USA, girls don't get vaccinated.
Hep A or whatever. Yeah.
You had no problem with the fact that we were talking about sterilizing young boys.
No.
Thought it was great.
There's too many people on the planet, right?
I'm just saying, if you want to go to public school,
you have to be sterilized.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it might actually solve some problems.
Yeah. No,
I definitely. I don't know. This whole anti-vaccine thing has just been really weird to me. That's still like in 2015.
I should research it because I like everything. I think that the crazy people probably have a few facts on their side. There's probably a few things in there where the mercury in those shots might be poisonous.
Or not even that. Not even that. Remember last week we were talking about the Tuskegee thing, and the government actually, infected people with syphilis.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell them and say, hey, we're giving you syphilis. Hey, so how do you know that the government now doesn't possibly do stuff like that when you're going to them to get vaccinated?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's a
long shot.
It's a long shot, and there's, but it has happened. It's not historically.
I just don't think you can't organize your behavior on that kind of thing. It's just too. You can't,
Yeah, because then you get into I don't drink tap water because there's fluoride.
That's another
it,
thing. Actually, the fluoride. So since the 40s, about 2/3 of tap waters in this country, 2/3 of the population drinks tap water that has fluoride in it.
But what is fluoride?
Fluoride
is in toothpaste.
Right.
It's the same. It's not a mind control drug.
Well, there's a huge conspiracy theory about it being a mind control drug.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why people, they go, oh, if there's fluoride in the water, that's how they get. But fluoride doesn't have any sort of properties that would
mind control. No.
Well, but first of all, fluoride in toothpaste isn't in the same amount of quantities as in the water that you're going to drink. You know what I mean? Because you put pearl-sized thing on your fucking toothbrush, maybe 3 times a day, and most people aren't. No, right? So once a day, and you're not swallowing it. You're not.
But there's also a much higher concentration in toothpaste than there is in tap water.
Yeah, well here's
you're drinking way more water.
I actually researched this. You're both on the right track. It's that there's more in toothpaste, but fluoride has been proven as a topical treatment to prevent tooth decay. So if you put it on your teeth and you brush it in, it either reinforces the enamel or it creates a film or something, and it
Right.
slows down tooth decay.
But
ingesting it, you're not, because then it soaks into your soft tissue,
Yeah,
and
you're not
literally every
supposed to
organ in
swallow
your
it.
body is now exposed to fluoride.
Right.
So, and they don't know what the effects of that are. Although there are studies linking now fluoride to ADHD and weird things like that are on the rise. So,
But again, I would say this: how much fluoride is in the water? It's not like you're drinking water that's 50% fluoride.
No,
There's
no.
1 part per million
Yeah.
that's maybe fluoride. You know, I don't know the
But
exact number. I'm
but
just
how
making up
much
numbers.
how much is going to kill you?
Well, I don't know. I've been
Or
drinking.
No, it's not-
or let's say
it's
not
not
kill
How
you,
many
deadly.
people have been
But
drinking
affect
tap
you.
water their entire lives? I mean, you can't prove that. And these studies, it's the same studies that the vaccine people use, which is they're not peer-reviewed long-term medical studies. They're, since 1970,
yeah.
autism is on the rise. But, you know, again, it's the whole causation versus
Correlation,
correlation.
yeah.
And they can't prove that vaccines are what's causing it. And a lot of reason why autism's on the rise is because autism is much higher diagnosed nowadays,
Yeah.
because there's much more known about it, and the autism spectrum has expanded so much.
That's true.
So of course there's going to be more people with autism. So they're just randomly linking it to, there's more vaccines these days, so that must be why there's more autism.
I think
but
there
you
wa-
could say the same thing about cigarettes and lung cancer.
No, not
Yes,
quite.
you
No, 'cause
could.
again,
That's
there's
been
peer
heavily
reviewed.
tested.
Yes,
It has not been proven, and
That's-
that's why
that's like
there's
a-
warnings on cigarettes, and they haven't. Doesn't say it has been.
It's proven that
It's
it
proven that it
smoking,
causes lung cancer.
It's proving that it can cause
It's
lung
proven that it
cancer.
can.
It just, you can't prove that it does every time.
Right.
Every time
Well,
you
that's what I'm
smoke a
saying.
cigarette.
So it's not proven. It's not a proven
Well, the
fact
link-
that smoking causes lung
they
cancer.
have linked. Not that it.
Just
I
like
don't
it's
know
not
if
a
that's-
proven
I don't think you
fact
can say
that ingesting fluoride causes ADHD or autism.
No, well, no, yeah, no, all right. There was a meta-analysis recently that looked at all of the studies on fluoride and its effects on people and its effects on tooth decay. And actually, it was just on the tooth decay thing. And what they concluded is they took all the best studies and they looked at them and they said there is no real proof that fluoride in tap water prevents tooth decay at all. So that's very interesting, and they should probably stop putting it in the water. But as far as that, it's a lot different than the whole cigarette thing and the vaccine thing. But I do think there is like a study or two out there linking mercury, which is in a lot of those injections, to some kind of negative outcomes. I don't know if it's autism or what, but I think Jim Carrey's point was actually kind of reasonable, which is just take the mercury out. You don't need it, which I guess has been demonstrated that you don't need that mercury in those vaccines.
Well, but again, I'm gonna leave all that to the doctors and not to Jim Carrey, because why would they put it in there
Not to the
if
mask.
it wasn't needed? You know what I mean? Like, clearly it serves some sort of purpose in these vaccines. Otherwise, they would have gotten rid of it.
Yeah, it has a purpose.
And again, we've gotten to the point these days where, again, we say, well, there's studies. I want peer-reviewed studies in medical journals by medical professionals to
I
tell
know.
me, not some guy who did a quote-unquote study that's
No,
because
yeah.
anyone can do a study and
No,
they
yeah.
can cite it.
Yeah,
I want a
yeah.
real study, and there are none out there that are saying that vaccines cause or may cause anything.
There might be some peer-reviewed studies that were peer-reviewed and determined to be not good, but they were still published anyway. Because like homeopathy. So homeopathy is an alternative medicine practice where they take a minuscule amount of a medicine and they dissolve it in water to the point where it's literally not detectable anymore scientifically. In other words, there's none in it. But they dilute it to that point and then they give it to you. And then your body is supposed to recognize that thing, that medicine in there, and then like adapt to heal you in some way. So but it's been proven basically that it is false and doesn't work, and it's not a real medical treatment.
Well, in general, that's how vaccines work, is they give you a small dose
Yeah, no,
of...
but in homeopathy, it's much, much smaller. So, well, like I said, you can't detect it.
Well, and what John's saying is that it's medicine. It's not the disease or virus.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what a
yeah.
vaccine. Vaccine is the
They give
disease
you
or
the
virus
disease.
way watered down. What John's talking about is a medicine.
medicine.
Oh, I
that's
thought you said they took the vaccines and water.
No.
Okay, my bad.
Homeopathy is, you can go to the store right now and get a homeopathic tincture for warts or hair loss or cancer. There's a million of them out there. It's $1 billion industry. But it doesn't, there's been a lot of studies showing that homeopathy just does not do anything. It doesn't exceed the placebo effect. It's not real medicine. But there are also, because I had to write a couple papers on this, there are peer-reviewed studies showing that it works, or showing that it, a statistical probability that it works. But there's like 3 or 4 of them, but it's almost any of these questions, man. If you ask for the studies, there are studies showing, like when we had Eddie on here
in major medical journals, like in legitimate doctors and legitimate medical researchers.
It's hard to say. I mean,
there's legitimate doctors that push drugs on people because the drug company brought samples to them and said, "Hey, push these on the people right now because we've got all these, and if you do it, we'll give you a certain amount kickback." Blah blah blah. So doctors are people too, and doctors are just as greedy and
there's a lot of dogma in medicine, and like we had Eddie on here, and we were talking about the placebo effect and what it can and can't do. Like what it can, like he says, it can't heal a broken arm. The placebo effect. Of course, he's right about that. You probably could speed the healing of a broken arm, but his point was, you have to set the bone. You can't just wish it to be good or take a fake drug, a placebo. And then I broke out my book, this amazing book called Irreducible Mind, and I start just to confirm to myself that I was correct in that I read there's study after study showing the existence of showing the power of the placebo effect, showing all kinds of paranormal, psychic effects. There are peer-reviewed studies from MIT or Harvard's used to have a paranormal studies division, and they did studies, and a lot of these studies come out and prove these things to be true. Now, there's probably more studies showing that psychic effects are not real. There's a lot of them, good studies that tested psychic effects and nothing happened and they're not real. But there's studies that do show that they are too. So I've found this after researching all these subjects, man, the intelligence difference between men and women. I read deeply into that, and there's studies showing both ways, and all of these things.
What these studies come down to is it's the same thing as sorting through all the Facebook bullshit, which is this: I could start a website tomorrow, and I could say on that website, Obama is an alien, and you could quote that and say, I have a source, or there's a story out there that Obama is an alien. What it comes down to is the person who's hearing this and the person who's trying to make their determination on this needs to judge whether or not that's a legit source.
Right.
So it's just like everything you see on Facebook about how, this mass murder was a government conspiracy and blah, blah, blah. And then, you always say, you click the link and you see the 24 size,
giant
Comic
font.
Sans font, and you go, oh, clearly not a legit source.
Right.
Versus if I sourced you to the New York Times. Now, sure, the New York Times has, in their past,
Made
had
mistakes.
some issues. But if I show you a source on the New York Times, you are going to believe that every single time over some source from some guy who's running a website out of his basement. And it's the same thing with these medical experiments, which is you got to learn what to... And the major medical journals written by the legit... trusted medical researchers do not support that vaccines are causing autism.
Yeah, that's true.
And they don't. So you can find me another source that says differently, but I'm going to believe the source that's I believe to be more legit, to be more trusted.
Right, but you're starting that with a bias, though.
You're not talking about truth and falsehoods, because if you were, you'd have to define that and find out if it's actually true or not true. What you're saying is the majority of people believe that this is true, so it's true. The majority of people don't know what this guy in his basement's doing, and if they did, they'd probably scoff at it, laugh at it, whatever. So it's not true.
Well, he's just saying
what I'm saying is
truth,
I can't go out and do an experiment on whether or not vaccinations cause autism. I don't have that capability. No one in this room does. So I have to choose somebody to believe on that, somebody who is an expert in the field. And there are I'm going to choose the experts who are published in peer-reviewed medical
So
journals.
my challenge then is to find you after the show major studies in major journals showing effects contrary to what the majority of studies show.
Yes, in a major medical journal that's been peer-reviewed. Somebody who does not have the agenda of either side.
Well,
you know what I mean. So I don't want one by some guy that then the first thing you Google him, he's on the board of anti-vaccinations, and then sure enough he wrote a medical.
But maybe
review.
he became on that board because of the results of his study.
Maybe if he did afterwards.
Maybe,
but I'm just saying.
But who was that model or whatever who hates vaccines?
Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah. So
I don't go to Jenny McCarthy for my medical.
Right.
Fucking,
but
just like
her whole movement, I think, was based off of a study that came out showing a link, and then it was later.
It has since been debunked.
Yes, it has. Yeah,
completely.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. But everyone, rather than looking at the source of that study,
yeah,
they just went, "Oh, a study says." But then, since then, all of these respectable doctors have come out and said, "No, that study's complete bullshit."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It probably is bullshit.
That's bullshit. The vaccines don't cause autism. The fluoride in your water is not controlling your mind.
You know, it is weird about vaccines, though, because, 1 in 10,000, it depends on the shot, but they do kill some kids.
Because they're giving you the disease.
Right.
They're giving you part of the disease, so
they know.
There is a possibility,
like some of them,
no matter how minuscule,
1 in 10,000.
that you will actually get it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm willing to take that risk.
Yeah, well, you have to. I mean, it's playing the odds, but it's, if you look at populations with no vaccines, the death rate is much higher than the 1 in 10,000 because of the actual disease. But there's a lot of, I don't know, though, I did find a rational argument against vaccines, and it's this. If I'll show you real studies that show that mothers who are vaccinated, when they breastfeed their babies, there's some kind of matter, some kind of substance that doesn't get transmitted to the baby through the breast milk. It's like a natural immune system booster or something. And so the child of a mother who is vaccinated has a higher risk of death from those diseases.
Well, something like that.
But then they get vaccinated, and then they're fine.
Yeah, I'm more apt to believe.
Well, it's true.
Because there's a lot of stuff you can't give to pregnant women. I mean, we all understand that. Even, I remember right after my son was born, I was supposed to get, before I went to Afghanistan, I was supposed to get an anthrax vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
And they I told him I had at that point he was only a month or two old. And so they wouldn't give me that vaccine because I lived in the same house as him. Oh. And for whatever reason, something about that vaccine, there was the potential of him getting sick from it. Oh. Actually, I can't remember if it was anthrax or smallpox. It was one of those two. Yeah. One of those two vaccines. So I mean, there are things.
But so this was my babe. So this was found to be true that the mothers who had been vaccinated don't release this thing, and then the babies are more susceptible to that disease. But then the baby gets vaccinated and they're fine. But and that's just one way of describing the big problem with vaccines, which is this: it makes the population more susceptible over time to disease if the vaccine isn't available. So in other words, if we ran out of vaccines today, then children over the next 10 years, new babies and whatnot, would die at a much higher rate than they would have in 1850 when there were just no vaccines. We would lose a lot more children, because vaccines over the generations make you more susceptible to those diseases. So that's a huge problem. I don't know if it's a huge problem, because it's all about, if our infrastructure collapsed, we'd be absolutely fucked in terms of illness. We would be dying left and right because we're not as...
Yeah, but again, that's a risk I'm willing to take to make sure that my kid is vaccinated against smallpox.
But it's an interesting...
Because again, go talk to someone who lived through polio.
Yeah.
who lived through that time in our history, get in a time machine and go back and tell someone living through polio and tell them, well, yeah, there is a cure. There is a cure that exists, but I choose not to get it because the side effects may be this and they'll tell you you're a fucking idiot. Go get your polio vaccine.
Go take the magic shot.
Yeah, because polio is a pretty serious disease, and it ravaged our country much like smallpox. And just go get your vaccination.
That's what killed FDR, right? Because he had polio when he was a baby.
I don't know if it actually killed him.
Well, because he was all crippled and stuff.
Yeah, he was
because of
crippled him.
Yeah.
Well,
old FDR.
Being in a wheelchair won't kill you though.
Yeah, but they say sitting is the new smoking, Mark.
Sitting is the new smoking.
He did live to be pretty old.
Yeah.
But the vaccines, you understand that what we're doing is we're fighting against nature, right? It's a war against nature.
Right.
Because these diseases are natural.
Yeah.
They basically pop up to level the population.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is we're prolonging life.
Right.
We're making people able to live longer and not have these diseases. So people are, and there's more of us, and, there's going to be other things that are going to take us out, or we're going to take ourselves out because of we're not getting...
there's too many of us, and we build nuclear weapons.
We're not getting reaped by the...
No, sure. And, as much as I'm pro-vaccination, I do think we definitely over-medicate.
Yeah.
I think doctors prescribe a lot of stuff that maybe doesn't need to be prescribed to people who may not necessarily need it. I think that's different than the vaccines. I think you need vaccines.
Yeah.
But I think right now you could probably go to your doctor.
But I still think in a radical agnostic sense, it is interesting to see that there are negative sides of vaccines. It's not an argument for not getting them, but it is good to know that they're not 100% lovely, and they do kill some kids, and they make us weaker as a species.
Right.
But it's like once you go down that road, you can't go back, which is fine as long as everything stays. The economy doesn't collapse.
Well, I don't understand the argument to begin with, because if you don't get the vaccine, then you're susceptible to the disease.
Right.
If you got the vaccine, you're not. Right. So why do we feel we have to force people to get it?
Well, it's herd immunity is what it's called. It's called herd immunity.
Yeah.
And what it means is that essentially if you let these diseases come back, because right now it's like smallpox is eradicated. And part of the reason why it's eradicated is because of these vaccinations. If enough people don't get these vaccinations and smallpox comes back, it may mutate, and it may be something that these vaccinations can no longer prevent against, and now you've got a smallpox outbreak.
So, Mark,
the general idea is if everyone just got these vaccines, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
that's kind of the thinking.
What I was saying was, okay, so like you said, if smallpox, there's a bunch of people that don't get the smallpox vaccine. So there is a smallpox outbreak, and the people that haven't gotten the vaccine get it and die off, or don't die off and, just have it, whatever. But the people that got the vaccine aren't going to get it.
Well, but again, these diseases can mutate, and they can change. And the more people that get them, the more they
can. But still, we don't have any proof that A, they will, and B, if they do, they're going to mutate to the point where the people who have gotten the vaccines are going to get it then.
Yeah, there's other harmful effects, though, like babies. If you let some kids get smallpox, which they will if you don't vaccinate them, then like babies who haven't gotten the shots yet and stuff can get it from those kids. It's just you don't
so you
want
give a vaccine to the kid as soon as he's born.
You don't do that though. That's
Why not?
Because it's not okay. All right, we're back. I think we lost like a minute. Technical thing. So all right, who was talking then?
Yeah.
We were on the vaccines.
We lost our momentum.
I think we were saying that. Mark was saying, "What's the big deal if some kids don't get it?" It is a big deal. That's the answer. It's not good.
But I see it as the same as seatbelts or something like that, where it's basically, or helmet laws or whatever. It's going to weed out the dummies that don't fucking use them.
No.
And I understand that there's if you're not using a seatbelt, it's a little different than not getting vaccinated because
it affects
the
other
possibility
people.
that it might it might affect other
people. It will.
No,
statistically it will, because those where like, I don't know if it's smallpox or one of those diseases that was almost gone was popping back up in California, and it was popping back up in these rich white communities.
I want to say it was like,
but was it popping up?
Yeah,
for people that had been vaccinated for it getting it. You can tell me that it's popping up, but if it's only popping up amongst people who haven't been vaccinated,
but anyway, Mark,
then
even
it's
if you're,
proving my point.
Even though I can't explain how other people get infected, they're kids, and they don't. It's not their choice. It's the parents making a choice that kills a kid. So that's why you make it illegal. A kid is not the property of the parent. No,
it's the property of the government.
Yeah,
and we've been told that.
Yeah, but you hear what I'm saying though.
Kids are property of the government, and government decides.
No, that's what you're saying. You hear what I'm saying, which is that parents that have kooky things that get their advice from Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey are doing something that it's like the religious groups that won't take their kid to the doctor and then they die from a fucking infection
pray for them instead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and this is probably going to come off crass or whatever, but if your parents are retards and you're a little kid, then maybe you will die off, and then your parents won't have offspring and won't be able to breed, and they won't be able to put their beliefs out there in the world anymore.
Yeah. All right.
But again, just to kind of agree with what John is saying, which is that there are things like that are kind of just weed out the idiots, but then there's some stuff that can have the effect. And, my kid has, I'm sure, all of his vaccinations, but I still wouldn't want him in a classroom with other kids who didn't have them.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think kind of what California is doing is good, in that it's, before, I can't make another parent give their kid a vaccine, just like I can't make another parent keep their kid home when he's, got the flu, even though I'd want to, even though when I walk, I bring my kid into daycare and I see another kid
sneezing,
just clearly sick, and I want to go, someone call this fucking kid's parents, because otherwise I'm going to have a sick kid next.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that times 100 when it comes to smallpox, which is, you know what, that kid may never get his vaccinations and he may never get smallpox, but I kind of just prefer he had his vaccination.
Yeah.
Because even though my kid has his, I don't want him in a classroom with someone who may have smallpox someday. So I think that's, and in the radical agnostic fashion, you can be skeptical. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical about vaccinations, but when it comes to the point where you're lying to people like Jenny McCarthy did, and where you're telling people that for sure, and you're trying to portray these things as facts, and that's when it becomes dangerous. So be skeptical, look it up for yourself. But I've decided, I've looked it up for myself, and absolutely the pros outweigh the cons by a lot. It was never even a consideration for me not to get my kid vaccinated.
Yeah, no, I would too. These celebrities, though, they it's the exact thing that we're against on the show. They start identifying their identity with these issues, because they go on Facebook. Jim Carrey goes on. It says, "Don't get vaccines are bad," and he reaches like 75 million human beings, and like 3/4 of them are telling him he's an idiot and sending him horrible messages that you're a bad person and you're ruining the world with this wrong message. So he just, of course, doubles down and says, well, no, I've got to be right about this, and now any evidence to the contrary, I'm just not going to listen to, because I'm sure there is so much evidence to the contrary. But I do think, in his defense, I think he was saying to get that mercury out of there. So I don't know how fringe and crazy that idea is. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that specific part of it, but
so obviously mercury is toxic to all life forms. But
yeah, that was one of the lessons I remember from a kid. If you're playing with the thermometer and it breaks, don't touch the silver stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but again,
Quicksilver is what they used to call it. Mercury.
You get into what the concentration of it is.
Yeah.
Because botulism is extremely toxic to all living life forms, and yet people inject it into their face.
Right.
But it's because it's so watered down, and so so again, mercury. Yeah, in a large dose, mercury would kill everyone in this room.
But wait a minute, we're not equating vaccines with Botox, are we?
No.
Because I think most people that are in their right mind will never get fucking Botox.
No, but what I'm saying is there are things that will kill you in the right quantity
Right.
and would do absolutely nothing to you in a diluted quantity. So
Well,
just because something is
certainly,
yeah.
And
but
obviously,
that doesn't mean that I want to take a fucking Q-tip full of fucking feces and put it on my hamburger. You know what I mean? I could probably could take a big bite out of a turd and be okay, maybe throw up. But I still don't want to do that and don't want to take an even more watered down.
I've got bad news for you, Beef. There is rat feces in most processed food that you eat. But again...
No, I said my own.
Oh, your own feces.
He's fine with rat feces.
Maybe there's your own feces. I don't know how you live, Mark. No, but what I'm saying is, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, there is an acceptable amount of
feces
rat feces
in your
that's
burger.
allowed in each amount of food. But again, because if you ate a rat turd, you'd probably get sick. But if it's 1 part per million, yeah, it sounds gross, but it's not going to kill you.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how much mercury is in vaccinations.
Yeah,
But
I mean, obviously, it's not
I've
enough.
gotten 25 years worth of vaccinations, and I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So
Obviously,
clearly
it's not
deadly
enough.
amount.
It's not enough to kill you on the spot, but maybe it's enough to mess up a pregnant mother enough that their kid, comes out with, an extra limb or autism.
And also there's a difference between the rat feces and the mercury because they're not putting rat feces in the food.
Right.
Rats are running around in the factory or wherever they're making it and pooping, so it ends up in the food. That's not the case with the mercury. They're actually putting the mercury in the vaccine.
Yeah, it has a function.
It's not that it just happens to end up in there.
Right. Well, we should look up the mercury thing and figure that out for next episode. It's an interesting question. There might be some small bit of rationality to this whole thing. But generally, it's wrong. Get your kids vaccinated. Speaking of Mercury, Pluto, the former planet.
It's a planet again.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't. It's a dwarf planet.
Well,
Mark, don't get on here and to millions of listeners misinform them.
Hey, my dwarf penis is still a penis, John.
Dwarf penis is still a penis. Are you saying in the sense that a dwarf planet has the word planet in it? It is a planet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and also, I'm just saying that the scientists that took it away from being a planet have turned around now.
No.
And they've said, no, they have.
Maybe some of the scientists, but the body, the organization that made that call has not reversed it. It's still not a planet. There's 8 planets, or, wait. So
what's
how many in
what's
total
the criteria?
Well,
that
there
it
would
failed
be
to
9.
meet?
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars,
Jupiter,
Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. That's 8. So there used to be 9. Now there's 8.
But what's the criteria that it failed to meet?
Too small. It's I think it's smaller than the moon.
But it has moons, though.
Well, it has Charon, which is it's a binary system. So Charon is like a really big moon that's a third the size, or like a fourth the size of Pluto itself. And so it's not that Charon doesn't orbit around Pluto. I wish we had video on this podcast because I'm making hand motions here. But what it is there's a barycentric, the barycentric center of that system is not in Pluto. So in other words, the gravitational center of Earth, when in relation to the moon, is in Earth, and the Earth, you can visualize it as standing still, and the moon going around it.
Right.
But Pluto and Charon, it's like Pluto has a wobble because Charon is so big that the actual gravitational center is not in Pluto. It's a little bit outside of it in its orbit, in its atmosphere or whatever.
Interesting.
But and there's other criteria that I don't know. But it's really, dude, this New Horizons probe was launched 9 years ago. It's about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And it's been flying through space for 9 years. And it's finally at Pluto now. Its closest approach is in 8 days, and it'll be, if you go online and look up best picture ever of Pluto, and it's this blurry piece of crap.
Wait, it's not at Pluto.
What do you mean? It's approaching Pluto.
This probe
spacecraft.
isn't at Pluto.
Yes. What do you mean? Why not?
There's no way it made it to Pluto in
Dude,
9 years.
It did.
Then why can't we send a person to Pluto?
Oh, there are a million reasons.
Pluto is more than 9 years away. Like,
no, it isn't, because it's slingshotted around Jupiter and it's going like 50,000 miles or more than that. We're there, dude. We're there. There's been 5 probes that have exited the solar system. There's one probe, Voyager 2, I believe, is in interstellar space. It's left the heliosphere. It's out of the solar system.
I thought we just sent those things far enough away that they could actually see those planets. I didn't think we could actually get something to Pluto.
It's 10 million miles away from Pluto right now, which is not far. It's right there. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to touch Pluto, but it's going to fly right past it and keep going. I'm telling you right now, $100, $1 million. It's
well,
there.
no, I'm not betting you. I'm just saying I didn't know.
It took 9 years, and we got it there. The distances are incredible. You're absolutely right about that. But we did send a craft there, and so the best picture of Pluto thus far is a blurry piece of crap. And now it's getting, and they're sending pictures back every day. I've been keeping up with it, and we have the first color images of it, and we're going to see if it still has an atmosphere, because they're worried that the atmosphere is going to freeze and just fall to the surface, and then we won't have a chance to research it, because they do think there is an atmosphere on Pluto. But it's awesome, man. I'm so excited we're going to see a new planet, or we're going to see one of our dwarf planets, for the first time, really close. We're going to see the resolution of the photos is going to be like down to a kilometer. So I think that's pretty good, like pretty specific. You'll be able to see features and mountains.
I'm not super excited like you.
Oh,
unless there's life there, that'd be cool.
There's not.
Okay, well there you go. I'm not a big space guy.
You don't care about it?
It's not so much I don't care. Like, I think it's important. I don't follow it.
Man, I could go
as
on.
evidenced by the fact I didn't even know we could send something to Pluto.
Yeah.
I thought that was out of our range.
Yeah. Hey, 9 years of flying at like 80,000 miles an hour, I guess we'll get you there. I guess we could just do the math.
No, that's way too many zeros. Way too many zeros.
All right, so about Pluto being a planet. Of the approximately 10,000 internationally registered members of the IAU, which is the International Astronomical Union, only in 2006, only 237 voted in favor of the resolution redefining Pluto as a dwarf planet, while 157 voted against. The other 9,500 members were not present at the closing session of the IAU General Assembly.
Sounds a lot like U.S. Congress.
At which the vote to demote Pluto was taken.
Wouldn't you love... I love to think...
Were they surveyed as to their opinion later?
Nope.
I love to think of it as like a super political process.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the Spaces version of the Democrats and Republicans. Like, someone's like, look, I will vote for your dwarf planet later, but you got to vote Pluto back as a planet. And then someone else is like, no,
it's all corruption.
Yeah, there's like the anti-Pluto lobby
it's
out
just
there.
Money changing
for whatever
hands.
reason, hates Pluto. Like,
yeah.
Don't vote for it, man.
The funniest show on television is Rick and Morty, and it's an animated show with sci-fi premise, but it's hilarious. And they did one where one of the characters gets kidnapped by these Plutonians, which are the people the little guys that live on Pluto, because this character is an idiot who doesn't like the fact that they demoted Pluto to a dwarf planet, because he doesn't want to be wrong. So he's like, no, it's a planet. Of course it is. I grew up learning it's a planet. It's a planet. So the Plutonians kidnap him to make him a spokesman from Earth to convince the population that on Pluto that it is still a planet. And it's like this big political thing. Like they want an Earth scientist to say that it's still a planet. All right. Anyway. Guys, look at it. That show is so funny. Rick and Morty. Check it out.
Shout out. I've never seen it, but
it's so funny, Nick.
It's on Cartoon Network, isn't it?
Yeah. The second season just they leaked a few episodes.
You did just call it the funniest show on TV.
It is.
So that's
period.
It's quite a.
It's a high thing.
Is it even the funniest animated show on TV?
Nope.
Is it funnier than Archer?
Yeah, Archer is funny, but this show is way more jokes per minute. Archer's more like cool because it's action too.
I don't know. Archer's got a lot.
You're true.
Yeah, Archer's got some pretty good writing. Although
it's
lately,
great. It's great. It's one of my favorite shows, Archer. But this show to me is, I love it, man. It's one of those shows where every time it ends, you get like depression. Like the episode ends, and
that doesn't sound funny.
Because you liked it so much, Mark.
Oh.
I guess if you had made that claim during season 2 of Archer, I would have to disagree. But
well, after watching it, hopefully,
maybe
you would have to disagree.
Maybe I can't disagree.
Is it as funny as Hee Haw?
Okay.
Mama's Family.
Oh, geez, Mama's Family.
Mama's Family.
That was awesome. My sister loved that show. And the Golden Girls.
Yeah, my mom loves
Mama's Family.
my wife loves the Golden Girls too.
It was a
Golden
well-written
Girls.
show.
It actually was.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I watched it a few times
It's
and like
pretty good.
chuckled under my breath,
Yeah.
like, oh man, I can't believe I'm laughing at the Golden Girls. That show's super popular too.
Yeah.
It's still like
It's
still one of the most popular shows of all time. It's the Golden Girls.
Oh, man. Mark has been saying recently that he doesn't like statistics, which I considered one of his ridiculous claims. However...
Oh, you mean the devil's math?
Yeah. However...
No, I didn't say I didn't like statistics.
You don't
I
trust
just don't
them.
trust them.
Yeah. And a case of statistics being untrustworthy happened this week for me. So, Mark, kudos to you. An article came out that said that, so the first financial quarter of the year has ended. And so they counted up what the different candidates for president have raised, how much money they've raised. And Hillary, of course, she's raised about $45 million and leads the pack. Bernie Sanders, my boy, has raised about $8 million, which is a lot more than people expected. Now, he had 250,000 donors, basically guys like you and me, and they gave him like $10, and it added up to $8 million. Hillary, what this article said was that 91% of Hillary's donations were $100 or less. In other words, the point that was being made by that statement was that
She had small donors
she
too.
had small donors too, just like Bernie. So then, that sentence was kind of weird to me because a guy online who is a big supporter of Hillary and who knows he doesn't like that I've been shitting on her so much lately, he posted that. And he's like, hey, John, what do you think of this? You thought that Bernie had the grassroots, but look, Hillary, 91% of her donations were $100 or less, so she's got that too. But that sentence was weird to me, and I started asking, I was like, is it 91% of the number of donations that she got?
Or 91% of her total
91% of the money.
Yeah.
Right, so if it was 91% of the money...
It's probably 91% donors, right?
It is.
Yeah, because that other 9% has donated millions and
millions. So yeah,
dollars.
she had 91% of the donors... Yeah, were little donations, but it added up to like $80.
I was thinking the same thing when you said that sentence. I was like, yeah, and then the other 9%.
Right.
You see, the thing of
gave her $40 million.
If I was Hillary, like I wouldn't even pretend. Everyone knows how much money she's getting in this campaign.
Yeah.
Like just let it happen.
You're right.
No one believes Hillary Clinton is grassroots.
Well, what I don't understand is
you're right.
She doesn't have to be like the Republicans who they all have to out folksy, out grassroots each other.
Yeah.
So they've all got to get every
and
pig
Bernie
farmer in Iowa
who is rising in the
right,
polls.
and he has to because that's his reputation.
Right.
She's the only person in this race that can be like, yeah, I got mad money from fucking.
Look, she should
all
say.
these people.
You're right. She should say, look, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of.
She's been in politics
I've
for
been
years.
here a long
we would
time.
expect her to know.
Yeah.
So I don't know why she even needs to pretend that she's because no one's going to believe that narrative that like.
Well, because the far left has grown a lot in the last few years. The far left has grown. So the middle Democrats, the moderate ones like Hillary are worried about that. So they do want to take advantage of that shift as much as possible, and act like they're far left people, at least during the primaries. And then during the general election, of course, they'll just erase all of that and say, no, I'm not like that. I'm moderate. Because you got to get the independents.
I mean, what does she have to gain by even running?
She wants to be the president of the United States.
Why?
I don't know.
Her and her husband don't have enough money already?
It's not for money.
Don't have enough influence and power already?
I think it's a lifetime of politics, and I mean, you wouldn't want to say that you were one of the presidents of the United States.
I mean,
I wouldn't.
No, of course, but
okay.
But once you go,
want to be president.
But once you go, like a lot of these people do, mayor, House of Representatives, Senate.
Yeah, you've worked your way up.
It's the logical next step. It's like
to say that you're a president.
Yeah,
like you were a president of the United
States.
It's
like if you got onto the Billboard 100, your band, it would be great, but you'd probably want to get to the top 10, the next year. Not you. I'm just saying that it makes sense when you think of these people's careers and what they value.
But that's what I'm saying is like, so what they actually value. Because if she actually valued her values that she claims to, the liberal, the left leaning, all that kind of stuff, then she would back fucking Sanders. She'd be like, hey, you know what? Sanders is a better candidate. He has better ideas. He has better.
He's more consistent.
More ability to actually make change in Washington. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So I'm going to throw my support behind him.
Right. No, but that's not what their motivation is. I'm saying their values are power. Right. Their value is power. I guess power, but a lot of people don't believe the president is that powerful. But I think the president is fairly powerful and influential.
I think depending on the president, I think some are more powerful than others. But it's a pretty.
Well, they have the ability to do executive actions, and
they're definitely the most powerful person in U.S. politics because there's 3 branches, right? And the other 2 branches are
multiple.
You got 9 people in one, and then
they're the most powerful
500,
most powerful single person,
right, for sure. That's visible.
World,
the most powerful elected person,
right?
I mean, there of course there's probably people behind the scenes, like Alan Greenspan was the chairman of the Federal Reserve for like 30 years or something. He was a powerful man.
If you don't think that even someone like Karl Rove...
And was not elected.
If you don't think Karl Rove...
not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm saying during those 8 years, if you don't think he had a huge impact on the United States...
Whispering in Bush's ear.
I don't know. I want to see a peer-reviewed study about that.
I think we can be agreed that George W. Bush was neither evil nor extremely stupid, but pliable. He was a man who was easily manipulated by very concerted forces in his general vicinity, like Cheney, Rumsfeld, and Rove.
That's what I'm saying. I think Karl Rove is one of the big ones.
Yeah. Ugh, he's so disgusting.
Who's the other guy? Wolfowitz, right?
Is there a Paul Wolfowitz? That name is
he was early on that
Bush strategist.
Not Bush strategist, but he was one of the people that came up with the idea about the whole Iraq invading Iraq.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot. A lot of people had interest.
Well, no, but there was like 5 people that were like the
Cheney with his Halliburton stock.
Right.
That was just such a shady deal all the way around.
Halliburton was also involved in the BP oil spill, weren't they? Yeah, they were the company that contracted with BP, not to clear it up, but to check the safety precautions in there or something before it happened.
You know what
they had to pay? Yeah,
What bums me out about the whole Iraq war thing is I think too it drugged down a lot of people in his administration who would have, for example, I think Colin Powell would have been a good presidential candidate for the Republicans. I think Condoleezza Rice would have been a good.
Well, she doesn't have the experience. She's too young, but yeah.
I'm saying eventually. Yeah. Though. Like she had already worked her way up to Secretary of State.
I guess, but she was such a yes man. She was so manipulated by her superiors. I'm not that impressed by her. Colin Powell, I think.
She read Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Get her head chopped off.
I like Colin Powell, though.
Once the stink of all that got onto him.
And now his whole thing has been, I messed up. He's like, I'm sorry. Like, he hates the whole Iraq war. He hates the way that he made it happen.
But at least he came out within the 10 years of when it happened.
Yeah, and that's unique.
The guy who Vietnam, I can't remember his name.
Nixon?
No, the guy that was in charge of basically the Vietnam War. The
Army,
general. The general.
Westmoreland.
Oh, yeah, Westmoreland?
Okay, but the
Secretary
he didn't come
out until the 80s.
Defense was the Eastern European guy. He's still alive. Kissinger.
Yeah.
Was he Secretary of Defense or State?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the guy who was actually in the military, like Colin Powell.
The general, the 5-star general.
Colin Powell wasn't actually in the military when.
Well, he might not have been
the Iraq War.
But he was in the military.
He was Secretary of something.
He was Secretary of.
He was Secretary of Defense.
State.
No, Rumsfeld was Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Colin Powell was Secretary of State for the first 4 years, and then Condoleezza Rice.
Right. She was Secretary of State?
I may sound dumb.
I don't think she was, but
I don't know why I think that.
At some point, Colin Powell was the 5-star general, which is there's only one 5-star general. He's the general of the army.
There's no 5-star generals since World War II.
Really? Okay.
All right.
Let's do this.
No, they're
1-star general is called a brigadier general.
Brigadier general.
2-star. Let me do this.
Okay, go ahead.
2-star general is called a major general.
Correct.
3-star is lieutenant general.
Correct.
4-star is general.
Correct.
And then 5-star was general of the army.
And what was 6-star?
6-star? You're blowing my mind.
Whoa, you never heard of a little guy named Blackjack Pershing or George Washington?
6 stars?
Okay. I'll explain.
You just broke the internet.
Okay. During World War II, they promoted... Okay. Yes. During World War II, they promoted Eisenhower, Bradley, Henry Arnold, and...
someone else. Pershing?
No, who was the other? Not Brad. It was Bradley. Who was the guy?
All right, you just
There was
gotta
another.
plow forward.
Anyways, okay. Oh, Marshall.
Okay.
Sorry. Eisenhower, Marshall.
Marshall Plan.
Eisenhower, Marshall, Bradley, and Henry Arnold, who was in charge of the Army Air Forces before it was a separate branch. Then there were several Navy guys. I don't know the Navy.
Yeah.
You know.
And all these guys were 5?
They all got promoted to 5 stars during World War II because the idea was it was a multinational coalition. So they were the... Okay, anyways, after World War II, no more 5-star generals. There have only been 4-star generals.
Okay.
Colin Powell, I believe, was a 4-star general. I don't know for sure.
I'm going to say
was not.
he was a 4-star general.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
not the head guy during Desert Storm, though. That was Schwarzkopf.
Right. Norman Schwarzkopf.
Yeah.
Blackhead.
Actually,
That's
though,
what that
now that I
name
say that,
means.
Colin Powell may have been on the Joint Chiefs of Staff by that point.
Well, he
definitely
retired.
Which is technically
Colin Powell
higher
retired
than
from the military in
ground
'93.
commanders.
Oh, so yeah, you're right. So he was a cabinet member during the second Iraq War. Then. He wasn't in the military, like you said.
No.
Colin
He
Powell.
wasn't even a cabinet. He's in '93. He retired.
Yeah,
Well,
so
but
I'm
he
saying
retired.
by the time of the second
so
Iraq
he
War,
was-
he
Yeah,
was
cabinet. I'm sorry.
cabinet.
I was thinking Joint
He
Chiefs
was
of
the
Staff.
chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff until 1993.
Yes. So
Does that
he was-
make you the
that's
most
when he
important,
retired.
most powerful military commander
Yes.
besides the president?
the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which are the...
Can the Secretary of Defense order him around?
Yes. Because you gotta always remember it's a civilian army. So the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff answers to the Secretary of the Army.
Oh,
Secretary of the Army, who's a civilian. The Secretary of the Army answers to the Secretary of Defense, who's a civilian who answers to the President.
okay. Commander-in-Chief.
Yes. So...
Commander-in-Chief.
But anyways, Blackjack Pershing was a general during World War One, and he got promoted to 6-star general
6? They're just adding stars.
because he was such an amazing
So
commander.
great.
But then, in hindsight,
And
they
there was
said,
only one 6?
no. He at the time he was the only one. Afterwards, a while afterwards, he said, "Look, George Washington's the OG,
Oh.
so no one should be above Washington." So
And he had
Washington
5?
was 100 years after his death, or 200 years after his death, he was promoted to... No, they didn't have stars back in Washington's day. He
Oh,
was
they
just
didn't?
a general. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyways, so as it stands now, George Washington is the highest ranked general ever,
Oh,
followed by
6.
Pershing, followed by all the
Okay.
5 stars during World War II.
Interesting.
But-
Yeah, I mean, in Washington's day, if you were a nobleman, I mean, they still had a noble class, basically. And if you were a wealthy person, you would just become an officer. Like, they would give you field rank. Like, during the war, they'd be like, you're a captain.
Well, that even extended all the way
To
through
World War II, probably.
It definitely extended through the Civil War because same thing.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you were
So,
a
definitely,
nobleman, like
yeah.
you went to West Point,
Yeah.
and then you became an officer. Like if you were some
but
dude
I
off the
thought
street.
I thought some people that didn't go to the academy were just made into officers.
Oh, during the Civil War,
yeah,
in the South for sure.
yeah.
In the South, that happened
They
a lot.
They didn't have time to put you through the academy.
Right. I
So-
want to say.
It's like,
I want to say Leonidas Polk was one of the most famous ones who was like that. He was like a businessman,
yeah,
and he just had a lot of sway and a lot of reputation. So they're like, "Hey, you're now
you're a major.
you're a division
Yeah.
or a corps commander."
Yeah.
You know, he didn't actually command anything, but
Right.
people were more likely to rally behind the cause if they saw like a respected local person rather than a northerner. Who
I'm pretty
was-
sure that I am
Southern.
sure that went down in World War I too, especially on the European side, because their nobility was still so intact that that happened a lot over there during World War
Yeah,
I.
it might have.
I think by 2, the modern world had kind of emerged, and it was like, yeah, we're not.
Well, we needed so many more officers. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where you really had like, the officer candidate school and all these different programs that were just churning out officers.
Yeah.
It was like they needed. I mean, they needed any soldier they could get, much less officers. So yeah, you got a lot of guys who weren't necessarily in the upper class.
Oh
who
yeah,
got
yeah.
a chance to be officers.
There's
And,
more of
and
a-
nowadays, there's
It's just a meritocracy. I mean, you get it, you earn it. It doesn't matter where you're from, but you do have to have a college degree.
well, if you go to West Point, you get your college degree there.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you go to OCS, yeah, you just need a college degree,
Yeah,
which some would argue is still a
class.
class
Classism.
Division.
privilege, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. College doesn't really teach you much, but there is a value to it. Like it shows kind of responsibility that if you complete it, especially with good grades, that you did work hard.
I think it showed you some perseverance to follow through on a.
Just an organized
4-year
life too.
degree.
That, yeah,
Yeah.
You could get your loans, and that were going to cripple you for the rest of your life, and then just. I guess the Army helps you take care of that, though. Anyway, so yeah, that Hillary Clinton statistic was BS. It was 91% of her total donors were small donors, but not 91% of the total money was from small donors. And she would not release that number. The reporter was wise to it and was like, "Oh yeah, but how many total, or what percentage of the total money was from small donors?" And they wouldn't tell the reporter. Like, don't worry. And she got about 50,000 donations, whereas Sanders got 250,000. He destroyed her on number of supporters. And it's just a perfect illustration of the role of money in American politics, because he has way more people rallying to his cause, but she just makes 5 times the amount of money with a tiny, with Wall Street and banks and everything.
When's the primary, by the way?
I think it's in November of the year before the election.
Is it a year before, a whole year?
It's a good question, man. I don't know the answer.
That
to
would kind of make sense, but I don't know. I can't remember.
because we're like a year and a half out from the
Yeah, it's next November is the election.
yeah.
Oh my God, we gotta go through a whole year and a half.
It's
of this,
kinda, I kind of like it though. It's like a reality show for me. I follow the polls. I look at them like every day. It's weird.
The Republican primary is going to be super entertaining. I have a feeling it's about to get fucking crazy.
I think they got 15 total.
Because those dudes right now, they're watching Donald Trump, who's just been as controversial and as crazy as possible, and he's number 2 in like all of their polls. So those
Yeah.
guys are sitting there like, fuck it, I just got to go for it. Like I just got to like alienate
Not
an
only
entire
that, no,
minority.
they're thinking this guy is making us all look bad. He's making the whole party look bad, and then you get the people that
a
are
lot
polled.
of people are digging his message, though, man.
Oh, which is really frightening. I guess I kind of understand it, but last week I was talking about how
because here's why.
Go
Sorry
ahead,
to change
go
the
ahead.
point. Because he is the total anti to this supposed PC culture that we have.
right, and
So
that is refreshing.
Everybody who is railed against the PC culture is just in love with this guy because
a sociopath. They really like him.
They like
because
the
only a
fact that-
sociopath could get up in front of the world and say
and
things
say
like
the things
that.
they said and cause a controversy, but they love that. I
Yeah,
think.
no, you're
I
right.
don't know.
They do.
I'm trying to like assign reason to why
Yeah,
anyone would.
and
would
I kind
vote
of
for
understand
Trump, but
that because I
he's-
really don't
he's
like
mixing it
PC
up, man. He's
culture.
stirring the pot. That's,
Yeah.
that's what it is. They're sitting there looking at Jeb Bush, who's he's never going to say anything like that, or
No.
Marco Rubio, or
No, they're
Scott
trying
Walker.
to court the Hispanic vote, and
Yeah.
Trump comes
And
out
Trump's
and says this.
saying-
But here's the thing: none of those guys came out and denounced him. None of those guys, and they should have. That was their chance to get that Hispanic vote. The Republicans' chance, man, was to denounce Trump.
The problem is they're worried they're not even going to get past the primary.
Right, so
They're
they
not
have
even-
to go
so-
right.
So they
now.
have to go right now.
Yeah.
So they have to say,
Yeah.
hey, he's got his right to say whatever he
Right,
wants and blah
yeah,
blah blah.
They can't. jeopardize the whole thing.
Because if this was the general election, they could obviously
I
just
feel bad for
pander
the
to that,
Republicans, man. They're in such a hard place because they want Hispanics, and they want to be cool on gay rights and issues that have a majority of the country in favor. And even marijuana, probably they want to be able to support that, but they can't lose that Christian right.
Yeah.
It's still too big. I don't think it's worth it to get that a few percentages of Hispanics and lose the Christian right. There's so many white people in this country.
You know what's funny is I thought that we were so primed for a third party to come out, and everyone thinks the third party is going to come from the left.
Well, Bernie Sanders is a third party.
No. I'm talking a major contender's third party
Yeah.
but I thought they were going to come from the right, and I thought they were going to be socially liberal, or at least libertarian,
Rand
and
Paul.
fiscally conservative.
Rand Paul. Yeah.
But instead we got the Tea Party, which was just uber.
Well, we got
uber
everything. There's
conservative on
15 of
everything.
them, of Republican candidates, so there's everything in there, sort of.
No, I'm talking a separate party from the Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we were going to get a party that said, hey, don't care about gay marriage, let it happen. Don't care about marijuana, let it happen.
Yeah.
But really push the fiscal conservative agenda.
Yeah.
Because that's still super popular in this country.
Yeah.
That will still get you a lot of traction, is to be as fiscally conservative as possible.
Yeah. Say we're going to cut spending.
Yeah, you got to be against welfare.
Yeah.
You got to be, low taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it never happened.
Yeah, they missed their chance, man. That's why they're going to lose this election so bad. They're going to get destroyed by Hillary.
I don't know. If it ends up being Hillary, I think they have a chance of winning. Because people are so
She won't win by as much as she should.
disenchanted with Democrats and Obama as it is. So you already have the people that don't like him because they're Republican. They don't like him because he's Democrat or socialist or whatever they want to call him.
His poll numbers are okay, though. He's doing okay. He's hovering around 50% approval, which is pretty good for the end of your presidency.
Right, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people, though, that are sick of it and want to vote for something else. And so if their choice is Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush or whoever the hell Republicans have, they're just going to sit at home.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Jeb Bush, and I think he's the only
winner
one for the Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, you're going to need a political powerhouse to go against the political powerhouse that is Clinton.
Yeah, well, see, my Rubio pick, I'm starting to doubt it.
My pick would be, if I had to vote for a Republican, it would be Rubio.
Oh.
But
that's not what I was saying. I was saying
no,
I just think
I thought he was going to be the favorite. But the more this goes along, I don't see how Jeb
He's
Bush...
not making it. He's not spreading his name enough. Not enough people know who he is.
Bush or Rubio?
Rubio.
Okay.
He's got to get his name out there to compete with Bush. And
the problem is there's 18 fucking Republicans. How do you get your name out there? You get your name out there by saying crazy racist things.
Yeah.
Just give some fish tacos away for free.
Yeah, that's what Bernie did. He gave Ben and Jerry's away.
Well,
because Ben and Jerry literally are big supporters of him.
Right, Vermont.
And he's our first Jewish president, which I don't know if I asked this last week, but is it more important to have our first female president or to have our first Jewish president?
I think
liberals
female would seem more unlikely. If you had asked me this 20 years ago, when neither were in contention, I would have said female would be more unlikely. But
more unlikely,
yeah. I think they'd vote.
But the Jews are a tiny minority, though. What are they?
But it's still a Jewish guy. So if it was a Jewish woman against Hillary, I would say Hillary, But it's still a Jewish man. So men are just more, predestined to become president. Because God ordains that.
But if you get technical, though, there's never been a woman president and there's never been a non-Christian president. Like, they're both equally unlikely in terms of past statistics. Because she would be a Christian.
That's why I'm saying then you have to throw other factors in, such as... Well, okay, she's Christian, but she's a woman.
Right.
He's Jewish, but he's a man. So what cancels each other out?
Right.
What does...
Well, I like to ask the question because I want to put liberals in a tough spot where they're like, oh well, because they no like politically correct liberal will be like, well, it's more important to have a woman. Well, they might, but it'll put them in an awkward place, right? Because
you see, though, I
think
think
PC people don't really care about Jews. Judaism doesn't really come up, but if you throw it in there, it's like, hey, but that's a minority too. They have to. The liberal has to be like, oh yes, well of course.
If you're voting based on which is more important, though, you're voting for the wrong reason.
Yeah, I know.
It's like the people that voted for Obama just because he's black, just because they wanted to vote for the first black president.
But I've thought about that. Isn't there some like importance in actually using that as a criteria, like as part of your criteria for why you voted for him? Like, isn't it okay to partly vote for him because he was black? Like, didn't
it's
that
okay
make
to vote for him for whatever reason?
Right.
Want.
But I'm saying, like, isn't that kind of a partial good reason to vote for him?
What if the first?
I'm sure
what if the first black presidential candidate had been Republican? Would you vote for him then? And then the answer is...
What's the guy's name? Ben
Carson.
Ben Carson, yeah. Doctor, he's a doctor,
Yeah, he's like a brain surgeon or something.
Yeah, so if Obama hadn't won and Dr. Ben Carson had won the Republican primary...
Hey, I voted for Alan Keyes in 2000. Fundamentalist Christian, black guy. I was a fundamentalist Christian at the time, but it was
in 2000.
In 2000, it was Bush versus Gore.
I could have sworn he ran again more recently.
He tried to get involved in a more recent election, but he's insane. So he's so smart though, and so well spoken, and he's just totally black. He's a black man, but he's really religious and really Republican, and I voted for. I'm just proud that I didn't. It was my first election that I could vote, and I'm just proud that I didn't vote for Bush. That's all I know, or Gore.
Yeah, you went third party.
I went third party, dude.
Yeah, you're the reason that Bush got in office.
That's right.
Maybe you're
you and all those people.
You didn't happen to live in Florida at the time, did you?
What?
You didn't happen to live in Florida at the time, did you?
No. Alan Keyes, man. He destroyed George W. in the debates too. Of course, he was so well spoken, and he had all these facts memorized. He was really, really intelligent guy, but happened to also be like insane, an insane Christian.
It's gonna be interesting. At least
I can't wait
how this election goes.
I hope it's Trump. I hope Trump gets.
It would be pretty fucking entertaining.
What about Bernie though?
And then I hope Trump wins it too.
Isn't Bernie
but
gonna
think about,
do
Trump as president? Like
bad.
He was the fucking head of a reality show.
It's a nightmare,
dude. He would
just start shitting.
You're fired.
He's an idiot. He's not an idiot.
Think of the entertainment value.
Not good.
This country is going down the toilet as it is. So just think about laughs and comedy. For the end of your life.
Although Trump may be that guy that just calls everyone's bluff. So like when Putin tries to pull some shit, Trump may be the guy that
you need a sociopath when you're battling Putin.
He may drop an F-bomb on Putin, just be like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Putin?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?"
Fuck
like he may have the
you.
balls to just be like, "Fuck you, Putin."
Yeah.
Like who knows how that's gonna end? Well, it'll probably end with mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You don't want to give the finger to Russia when they have 7,000 missiles aimed at you.
They give the finger to us quite
a
bit.
It's gonna be. It's really sticky over there in Ukraine. It would be
kind of nice if someone gave the finger back to them. Someone kind of needs to give the finger back to them.
Yeah, Putin with his judo skills. It's like Obama would probably get his ass kicked by Putin. Probably. Obama's in good shape, but he doesn't know martial arts, dude.
Well, Putin was like ex-Spetsnaz and shit.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'd fight him, but he's
it would
like
be
65.
Funny though. So let's fast forward a year and a half to a reality where Donald Trump just got elected president. Does the world like chill? Like, do you think North Korea is as apt to fuck with a guy who?
They don't fuck with us now.
No, I mean, I'm just saying though, even just their bullshit that they pull.
I like where we're going with this, but I don't think anything good would happen if Donald Trump was president. The whole world would laugh at us because he would just be gaffe after wrong racist statement after sociopathic statement, and he probably wouldn't live in the White House. Like he would stay in his tower instead, you know. Some presidents didn't live in the White. I mean, John Adams, I don't even know if it was built by then.
It wasn't built by then.
But
I want to say like Madison or Monroe was the first. Well, it got burned down.
But Adams wouldn't have been there if it had been built. He didn't want to be anywhere near Washington. He just sat in his house reading for 4 years as a president. He didn't do anything. He wasn't involved. That's why he got ousted, and Jefferson took over. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it'd be interesting to look into a crystal ball and see what would happen with foreign policy if we had our own Putin, who was just a fucking...
Hey, if you want someone tough who's gonna...
Just a macho shit.
Who's gonna be macho and start wars, vote for Hillary.
Well, but
that's true.
But then who would Trump have as vice president?
It's a good question.
I've heard that maybe it might be Oprah. So think of that ticket.
Jenny McCarthy.
I mean, if Putin starts some shit, all we need is send Oprah over there, and she's giving away cars to everybody, and they're fucking shut down.
Yeah, she could run.
She actually probably could.
Yeah,
she would actually probably be extremely popular. I'm actually surprised more people on the left haven't thrown their hat in.
Yeah, it's just they're intimidated by those poll numbers.
Well, no. I mean, I'm saying though, I don't think Donald Trump expects to win the Republican candidacy, but I think he's seen it as an opportunity. I'm surprised though, with only really two major contenders. If you're a Democrat, you could throw your hat in and you could get so much press and publicity and get your name out there, and no one expects you to win. Would it be seen as a bad thing?
It's too late now though, because Bernie's, he's got all the spotlight for the second best Democrat, and O'Malley and Webb and Chaffee, those are three other Democratic candidates, and no one gives a crap about them, and they're not going.
I didn't even know Webb had declared.
Yeah, he just did a couple days ago.
Chaffee,
the
robot
from Delaware, I think. Used to be a Republican. Then he was an independent. Now he's a Democrat.
His first name is Lincoln, for God's sake.
Lincoln Chaffee. You got to vote for. I did see something the other day where Sarah Palin came out during all of this Confederate flag controversy, and she said, it was the Republicans who defeated slavery in the first place. For God's sake.
Mark said that once.
I wanted to punch a hole in my TV.
Yeah. It was liberals who stopped slavery. Yes, they were Republicans, but that was just a name switch.
I wanted to be like, then why are you in support of keeping the Confederate flag out? Clearly there's been a 180 shift here because you can't claim to have defeated slavery and support the Confederate flag. Like, obviously.
Well, is it Republicans that are supporting keeping the flag up?
Well, conservatives,
Southern conservatives,
and to be fair, the governor,
Nikki Haley,
is a Republican, and she said take it down.
She did say take it down,
and a few other Republicans did too, but not these presidential candidates. They missed another opportunity. They missed another goddamn opportunity because they're so cautious.
Because again, the South, man, you need that.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the South
because that's the only guaranteed state you've got. Montana and Wyoming and all those, and then you've got the South. Everything else is a battleground state.
They're just in a bad place, the Republicans, man. They didn't take the advice from the last election, and they're just it's all.
What was the advice from the last election?
You got to reach out to Hispanic people, minorities, and you have to get cool on social issues like gay rights and probably marijuana.
You got to go a little more liberal on social issues because they crushed Obama on the economy stuff.
Yeah,
but
I think
which is stupid because
I think the
Obama's
majority of
completely
the country
repaired the economy.
I think the majority of the country though would still support the conservatives' agenda when it comes to the economy.
Yeah, with some good reason.
But the majority of the country does not want to get behind them on their social agenda.
Yeah,
I think that's really what it comes down to.
It's true. Now, last week I was saying, we're almost done here, but last week I was saying that maybe the liberal-conservative divide is analogous to the male-female divide. So when, men and women fight, and it goes back and forth, and you both think the other one's an idiot, and then afterwards you're like, okay, I understand both sides, and you come to an agreement. Maybe liberal-conservative divide is like that in the sense that it's essential to have both impulses in society. You have to have conservatism and you have to have liberalism constantly battling against each other to, have progress. Then I was thinking, well, is liberalism a feminine ideology in very general terms? And I don't mean a woman's ideology, because I think every human being has both feminine and masculine properties. Most women have more feminine properties than masculine, and most men have more masculine influence than feminine. But if these things do exist, which feminism, by the very name of the movement, would seem to imply that there is such a thing as the feminine and the masculine.
I think it tends to be the more empathetic.
Right. And so isn't that liberal? Like, is liberalism feminine, and is conservatism masculine? That was my question.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's how it tends to break.
Yeah. Because if you look it up, women in all age groups, among all age groups, women vote Democrat more than they vote Republican. And men are, in like the young men, it's like 50-50 Democrat, Republican, but as the older you get, the more Republican they vote. So that would kind of indicate that liberalism is a feminine ideology.
Depends on what qualities you define as feminine and masculine.
Nick said a few. What did you say?
Well, like I said, I think empathy. I think also the conservatives
fairness
tend to appeal more to, I'm going to have to use this word again that I can't fucking say, rural
values.
Yeah, sort of the agricultural, sort of the farmer ideal of this country, and they tend to really pander to the military a lot.
Right. And it's kind of like...
They tend to pander to the blue collar.
Well, it's kind of like if things aren't good for you, it's too bad. That's the conservative thing. Like,
well, if things aren't good for you, you're responsible
for making them better.
Changing it.
Is that a masculine virtue?
I think in our culture it is. Absolutely. But just
in nature.
I don't think it's an inherent.
No? You don't think those categories have inherent validity in nature?
I think they appeal to something in men, something in men with a family, which is, oh, hey, John, you've got a wife and kid and you're living below the poverty line. You're failing as a man. Right. You know what I mean? You are responsible. They aren't pandering to your wife. You know what I mean? They're not saying, hey, Mrs. John, and you need to, it's you need to go out and pick yourself up by the bootstraps, and you need to bring your family.
So can you say that power is a masculine virtue? And let's not think of it in the most horrible, ways, because power, I think, has a negative connotation.
Well, right. So you can say power is a masculine virtue. You can say aggressiveness is a masculine virtue. Yeah. So then, but with both those things, both parties want power. Both parties are aggressive in seeking that power.
Let's not talk about the parties so much so as the ideologies.
Say
liberal,
the ideology,
conservative.
Liberal and conservative. They both want power. They both are aggressive in defending or attacking the other side, defending their side or attacking the other side.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why when I used to write about this stuff philosophically, I would say that my conclusion was that kind of all human beings are kind of masculine in a way, just because we're all individuals. So like we kind of all tend towards the seeking power. So like the political correct people, they really do like power. They want to fire you for saying something. They want to get you fired. They want to get this flag taken off of toys. Take that Confederate flag off. Ban the Dukes of Hazzard on Nick at Night because there's a flag on the car.
You know what? I would say it's not so much power, because could you argue that Hillary isn't one of the most powerful people in this country?
Yeah, and
she's absolutely powerful. So I would say this. I would say that they portray. It's so funny to me that we talked about Putin a second ago.
Yeah.
Conservatives love Putin.
Yeah.
They love to talk about Putin. Oh, Putin's so much better than Obama.
Yeah.
Putin's this, Putin's that. Why? Because Putin knows judo.
He's a dictator.
And because he was a former SF, Russian soldier, and because he has his shirt off all the time, and he's muscular, and he takes no bullshit.
And he's a dictator.
And he has all of the stereotypical masculine qualities.
Right.
That, it's the same reason they loved Bush, and they'll tell you that Bush was better than Obama. Bush didn't take no shit. Bush never talked about you cross this line. He would follow through with it. And Bush was this,
And those are kind of just fictional portrayals
No,
of
they are.
these people.
It's all
but,
narrative.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's
But
but
American
ideal.
culture is essentially liberal, and I'll argue because, like I've said before on the show, when you go to like when you watch Fox News and you watch the conservatives making their points, a lot of times what they have to do is portray themselves as victims, and that was the liberal thing. Black people in the '60s, black people are victims of segregation, or immigrants are victims of this and that. Women are victims of oppressive. And then the conservatives, that became so powerful, that approach, that conservatives have had to adopt that. So they have had to say the war on Christmas, the war on Jesus, the war on white people. Yeah. Like you'll see that meme a lot on Facebook where it says, it's, in America, it's okay to be anything except white, Christian, and male.
The reverse racism that's dragging all of us white people down.
Right. And so, and then, they legitimately believe that. But you see what I'm saying? That there's a liberal overtone to all of that because they have to portray themselves as victims. Like Putin, that seems to me, Russia is a conservative culture because they don't have to say that. Putin doesn't have to say, we Russians are...
They imprison gay people in Russia.
Yeah. Putin will say, he'll stand there and be proud of his dictatorial power. He's just proud of it. He doesn't have to portray himself as a victim to be popular in that culture.
Right.
But here, a Republican has to do that. So it seems like it's very much a liberal culture here. And in that sense, it might be a feminine culture. And wouldn't that make sense with all the shift we've seen towards PC?
I think now they're appealing to a minority culture, which is the white, conservative, religious male is now a minority in this country.
Right.
Before it, you go get in a time machine, go back to the 50s, that was 90% of this country was a white, well, maybe not 90%.
60 or 70,
a majority of this country was a white, Christian, conservative, middle class to upper class male.
Yeah.
And now that's absolutely not the case. So now they've realized that they can no longer project that, image of...
So do we have a feminine culture slightly? Is that a fair thing to say, or is that...
I don't know about a feminine culture, but we definitely have a more liberal culture.
Right.
And like you said, and so it has changed. People's values have changed. Society's values have changed. So that's, like you said, why Fox News is portraying themselves as what they are, because they can't come out and be like,
we're proud to be white.
We want to go back. But the thing is, too, is like I wouldn't say that the population used to be different. I would just say that the people who were able to have a voice and have power and influence was different back in the 50s.
Women couldn't vote until 1922.
I don't know the exact.
And even when
when
they finally could vote, how many of them were voting
how
many
of them did,
and how many?
Right, their husbands.
22 wasn't an election year, but.
Well, it could have been a
when
law.
They changed the law. Yeah.
It was a constitutional amendment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Gave women the right to vote. I think it was 22, but anyway, it was in the 20s.
Then.
And
I want to say that the election with Harding was the
Warren
first
G. Harding.
one where they could vote, and I want to say that was 20. Anyways, it was around. You're right,
but
I'm not arguing the point. I was trying to deduce it.
Yeah.
Well, so here's my question to you.
But think of how big of a political battle that was, because they had the metrics back then. They knew that as soon as women could vote, the Democratic Party was going to get a huge boost, and it certainly did. Like I said, if you look at the polls, the influence of female voters is strongly in favor of the Liberal Party, or which is in this country recently the Democrats, supposedly. So. That's a huge political battle to get all of women who are actually outnumber men in the world to start voting is like this huge deal. So that it's kind of like I don't know. I mean, it's a great thing that women got the right to vote, but it's kind of like gerrymandering in a way. It's like if we pass this, our party is going to benefit.
Right.
You have to wonder if the Democrats' motivation was equality or
winning.
Political.
Well, but I don't know how. I don't know the majority of who women voted for when they first got. I'm not positive that they were voting for Democrats more than Republicans.
No, but we should look it up. But it was probably whichever party fought for them to have the right to vote.
Or was it whichever party their husband voted for? Because I mean, early on,
Yeah.
that was the thinking.
They wouldn't dare.
Well, first off, I mean, again, we talked about this last week, but like back in the 20s, there wasn't TV ads and all this stuff. Like, so
there's radio ads.
If you limited, so okay, your wife just got the right to vote. If you limit what she's exposed to politically,
right,
then how is she going to know who to vote for other than what you tell her to vote for? So I think that was
at the breakfast table every morning. The husband is reading the paper and just railing against the blacks or whatever.
Yeah,
she's
going to follow along
Yeah.
with him. And it wasn't really until we get to the 60s and we get to the Kennedy-Nixon election where you start having it on TV.
I've heard this is kind of
difference
sexist, but a lot of people said that if you gave women the right to vote, they would just vote for the more handsome candidate, and that was the thing.
Well, but again, if you limit them and what they're
education
to,
and
then that's probably all
they're not going to college in the 20s for the most part.
Which, by the way, dudes, if we just voted for female candidates all the time,
it would be
95% of the time we'd vote for the more attractive candidate.
Yeah.
Sarah Palin was almost our vice president, John.
I know.
I mean, on what other metric was she qualified to be the vice president?
She was a straight talking, down home hockey mom.
Oh, her daughter is now
pregnant for the second
time, and is no longer getting married to Dakota Myers, who's the Medal of Honor winner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were supposed to get married, and she got pregnant. They were supposed to get married. They found out that he had previously been married. Which, by the way, everyone in the military has been previously married. And they no longer wanted to follow through on the wedding.
And which group had she been a spokeswoman for?
The abstinence
movement?
Only movement? She made several, I want to say almost over 100, like almost over six figures.
Oh, little
Speaking
Bristol.
out for the...
Look, little Bristol's already a millionaire. Almost. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. It's just a total hypocrite.
Got a whole career ahead of her. Well, talk about Chelsea Clinton, though. She envision her on a future ballot. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, she's going to be a political machine.
Like 2030 or whatever. Chelsea will be on that ballot.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any more Kennedys lately. That whole...
Did they all die?
Well, yeah, a lot of them.
Ted's dead.
No, I'm saying the next generation of Kennedys.
Well, yeah, John Kennedy's son, John's
Well, he
dead.
died. But I'm saying all of... Robert Kennedy had like 12 kids. Ted Kennedy had several kids.
Yeah.
And then you've got all of the female Kennedys, the Shrivers.
It just fizzled out, man. They just... No one wanted to get shot anymore. They really silenced those people.
They really did.
God. Because Robert would have been president, right? He had great polling numbers.
He was on his way to...
he was running, I think.
Yeah, that's when he got shot. He was at a campaign event.
For the primary, probably? Yeah.
That's... Rest in peace, Kennedys.
I know.
Poor little Liz Kilt lifter out for our fallen Kennedy brothers.
Although they were...
Not to mention all of the ones that have died in plane crashes, which is insane.
Yeah.
Have you ever read, like... So, obviously, Joseph Kennedy Jr. was in World War II.
Yeah.
He was a pilot and died. One of Joe Kennedy's daughters also died in a plane crash when she was, like, in her 20s. It was like back in the 40s. She died in a plane crash. Obviously, John Kennedy Jr. died in a plane crash. And there have been others, too. Like, those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. But that's four right there in one family that have...
Well, there were... In Mexico, there were, like, about 5 years ago, there were, like, four... It was this guys occupying the same position in government. It was like Secretary of Defense or something in Mexico. And, like, four of them in a row died in helicopter crashes. It was so weird.
Have you read the thing about all of the rock stars that have died at age 27?
Yeah.
And it's like this long list of just,
like
from Jimi
Hendrix
to
Kurt Cobain.
To all of these people died
Amy
at 27.
Winehouse.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse died at 27. I mean, it's almost like, over a dozen people, like prominent of the most prominent musicians of the 20th century.
But like, what can you even what like mystical thing can you even turn that into?
It doesn't mean anything. But it's one of those things where a coincidence starts to be like,
it's like,
I wonder if just at 27.
There's no conspiracy theory even suggests itself.
No,
to
not
that.
a
You're
conspiracy,
like,
but like, I wonder if at 27, if something happens that like.
Well, supposedly it does, and I did experience that. It was like 27, 28. You're supposed to have like a major shift in your life.
Mark and I haven't hit 27 yet. So
I know.
We'll let you know when we get there.
I know.
No, but that's a bunch of hooey.
Is it?
Come on, think about it.
You just resist all shifts in
no,
life.
just
stubbornly.
Just think about if you were going to take a poll and just collect information of everyone that's died throughout history.
Yeah.
And then look at all the plumbers. Let's take all the plumbers. Let's see, okay, what age were they when they died? And then you have this random, all kinds of numbers. And then you can go, oh, look at all these.
A spike. There would be a spike somewhere.
Look at, and just like, it's still not a majority, but there's a bunch that, there's a number that died at any age.
If you take all the hours of the week, so there's 24 in a day and 7 days in a week, and you say, when do the most people die? It's at like 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. When by far more people die than at any other hour during the week.
Well, but my question is more, is there something at 27 where if you have unlimited fame and fortune and access to any vice you want, is there something at 27 that causes you to indulge in that vice to the point that you die? Because again, these aren't 27-year-olds dying of old age. Right. They're dying of
it's all
overdoses, choking on their own vomit.
Yeah. It's
or
all
killing themselves.
Well, I think that you could map it out to where most people probably start doing drugs, but if they do at all, between like 16 and 20. And then for people who are heavy drug users who have tons of money, unlimited resources, and they're famous, the body can handle escalating drug use, and the escalation of heavy drug use probably is quite mappable in terms of the average rate. And so, it probably tends to culminate around 27.
Or is there something that at age 27 you decide to do more of it?
Well,
to the point where now
you go
from, I drink a lot to I drink to the point where I choke on my own vomit. Is there something...
I'm saying that if you mapped out the progression of heavy drug use, which always gets worse.
Saying it's increasing?
It always gets... for heavy drug, it gets worse over time.
So you're not saying the same rate and you're saying increased rate.
No, same rate, they would survive to 50 or 60 probably, but it's...
They'd be Keith Richards.
Yeah, it's the addict who... Addiction really... And St. Augustine actually gave a really good definition of addiction like 1,000 years ago, whenever he was, and he was saying it's not doing the drug regularly every time, it's doing a little bit more every time. That's the real nature of addiction, is increasing the use. So which isn't 100% true, because a lot of smokers smoke the same amount for years and they're obviously addicted. I was smoking lightly for the last few months. I've been injured, and so I quit 2 weeks ago, and I've had a couple puffs since then, but it's hard, man. It's harder than I remember.
Real drug.
They are though, dude.
No.
They're not real in the sense that they get you all high, and that you like heroin, you'll get sick if you stop using it, or alcohol. So in that sense, no. But man, it's really hard to stop. And I was smoking 2-3 cigarettes a day. I wasn't a heavy, even a medium smoker. I was a light, and man. It's not like you need it or you're sweating or anything. It's just you just want it, and it feels like a part of your life is missing. It's really weird.
I think some of it has to do with the individual, because we had this discussion the last time we were out, and I remember I smoked a couple cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't had one since,
yeah.
and I've had no craving for one since.
Right.
And it's not that I have some willpower.
It's
I don't
just
have
you
any sort of willpower.
Didn't smoke enough to need it.
Well, that time, but back when I was in the military, I smoked quite a bit.
Yeah.
And every time I got back from the field or got back from deployment, I just stopped.
Right.
And I've never had the cravings unless we go out to drink. So what I'm saying is, I think a lot of it is individual. It's just just something in your body
You might
that you
be
crave
right.
certain things. Because I would say I would have a lot more trouble quitting drinking than the average person. Not that I'm an alcoholic or not that I drink an excessive amount. I enjoy a beer a lot more than I enjoy a cigarette. So if you told me I had to quit one, I would go, I'd quit a cigarette.
Yeah.
I'd never smoke again. That wouldn't faze me. If you told me you could never drink a beer again, that'd be like, well, okay, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. I guess it probably is physiological in some way. I kind of think that it's an age thing, because when I was in my 20s, like quitting any of those things was so easy, and I was always surprised at how easy it was to quit a habit. And now it's harder, and I kind of attribute that to just like the fuzziness of youth, where you don't really know how you feel as much. Like you don't.
Well, I would say
you haven't felt all the things yet, so you don't know what all the things feel like. So they'll happen and you won't notice them. So like the withdrawal from cigarettes, you'll have it somewhere, but you don't know to look for. You don't know to recognize, so you don't know you're in withdrawal. It's kind of like ignorance is bliss in a way.
Or it wasn't a habit yet for you back then.
I guess, yeah. But the way he's saying that, I mean, that has to be a habit. If he was smoking every day, several times a day, I mean, that's a smoking habit for months in a row, right? Or weeks in a row?
Yeah, when I was deployed, I smoked probably over half a pack a day.
For how long?
It wasn't the whole 9 months of deployment, but it was probably the last 4 or 5 months of deployment.
Yeah, that should do it. I mean, he should be hooked at that by that point.
Yeah, but I would say that I've had trouble quitting other so-called addictions. You know, I mean, obviously, like I said, beer.
Yeah.
I don't think I could stop drinking alcohol. Food is a big one for me.
Right.
If you told me, like, man, I mean, I've cut weight for jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I mean, I've been cutting weight my whole life, but man, that's the most brutal thing to me.
Yeah.
You could tell me, like, okay, you have to quit, this or that. Like, food would be the last on the list. Like, good, like, takeout, fatty, shitty food. Yeah. Like, I enjoy that more. That's my vice more than anything.
And that's what it is. When you quit these things, like, it's like I said, it's not like heroin where your body needs it. It's more like... It's more mental, and it's like something's missing from your life that you had every day, and you just your brain just goes, it doesn't go, give it to me, I need it. It goes, why? What's the point of living if you can't satisfy this? That's what it tells you. It's not like suicide, but it's just saying, what's the point if I don't get to enjoy this thing that's not really that bad, like a cigarette? That's not that bad, or a beer, or a fatty food meal.
Well, smoking cigarettes is a lot more of a ritual even than an addiction. I mean, it is an addiction, but it's more but you get more addicted even to the ritual than the...
There's an oral fixation, and there's also the periodic during the day, the breaks from what you do, and you start to like those breaks.
You know what's weird? So,
and then you have no reason to take a break.
To agree 100% with both of you, when I was smoking, half the reason I started smoking was because when you're in Afghanistan, there's nothing to do for most of the day.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I need to go outside and get some fresh air. So we'd go sit in a bunker and just smoke and talk and bullshit. And that was like a little break from smoking. But then also with the oral fixation. So before I smoked, I dipped like a lot worse than I smoked.
Yeah, chewing tobacco.
So when I was going through like ibolic and all that stuff, I dipped. When we would go out to the field, I was dipping a can and a half a day.
Yeah.
And it was really bad. And eventually I made myself so sick from it.
Yeah. Nicotine overload.
That I get to the point now where I can't really do it anymore. Like, even the smell of it will kind of like make my stomach turn a little bit.
That's how most of the world is with dip.
Yeah.
It's really gross.
Oh, it's so good, though, when you first do it, man.
I tried it once, I think, and I
didn't do it right. The first time you do it, you'll throw up because you'll swallow accidentally, and that's the end. But so I told you that to tell you this. I still have dreams, like once a week, where I'm dipping in my dream.
Oh my God.
And I'm like spitting and like dipping, and it's
ritual.
It's like a very pronounced part of the dream.
Wow!
It isn't just a weird little thing. It's like part of the point of the dream is I'm dipping.
Yeah,
and I wake up, but I have no impulse to dip anymore. That is one thing I'm completely over.
Well,
I haven't had a dip in months since I've been out of the Army.
That's
but
great,
I still dream about it.
Your dreams
get
rid of the need.
It's a weird thing
for you, though. Your dreams are doing you a favor.
But I never dream about smoking. I never dream about drinking.
Yeah, me neither.
I never dream about eating. Well,
I have a lot of killing in my dreams, man. A lot of killing.
Really?
Like really graphic, where I just take a knife and like slowly put it in someone's chest. Like I'm not enjoying it usually. It's usually scary. It's not like a weird psychopathic thing, but I am in battles all the time where I'm killing and using guns.
I have had a lot of revenge killing in my dreams throughout points, but it's never.
It's not like I enjoy it. It's not like sadistic. I don't torture people. I'm trying to qualify.
I just stab them in the face in front of their family.
And then you know how like the gun works at first and then it doesn't work after a while. I hate that.
I have the dreams. It's funny, the stereotypical dreams where I'll be walking through downtown and I'll look down and I'm in my underwear.
Oh, really?
And it like freaks me out, and I run and like, oh, no one can see me, so I'm like running through, and there's of course people everywhere.
Yeah, the embarrassment dreams.
It's the weirdest.
I never had those really. Maybe a couple. What about you, Mark? Oh, you don't dream?
If I do, I don't remember it usually, and when I do remember it, they're boring as hell.
You're just sitting in it.
Seriously, I'll have a dream where I'm washing dishes.
I do have dreams sometimes where
cleaning a room.
I do have dreams sometimes where I'm doing math homework.
Really?
And I can't get this one problem, and I just keep like working through it.
Well, that's more understandable because that's like an anxiety thing.
Yeah, well, then
with him, it's just fine, right?
I wake up and I have like a headache from like these numbers, and like I'm kind of like half awake, and I'm still trying to figure out this math problem. Like I'm not a mathematician. It's not like math's a part of my daily life or anything. And then the other one I have a lot of is that I'm about to get in a fight with somebody, and all of a sudden like I can barely see. Yeah. And like my arms are super heavy and slow. Like I can't like punch anyone all of a sudden. Like I forget how to punch.
It must be, it's like a feeling of helplessness, I guess.
Yeah, like a vulnerability thing.
I had a hilarious dream in college. I was in my dorm room and I had a dream that I was sitting in a chair in the middle of an empty room and I just smelled poop. And I'm just sitting in a chair smelling poop for like 15 minutes in the dream, and then I wake up and my window's open, and there was a sewage treatment plant near the college, and like once a month the whole campus would smell like shit, and it just the whole room smelled like shit because of that was happening. And so the previous 15 minutes were me sitting in a wooden chair silently smelling shit. That was the dream.
Well, at least you didn't poop yourself in the dream.
Yeah. You want to know the best one? On Fort Stewart, we lived on post, and there was a sewage treatment plant a couple blocks away.
When that wind shifts.
Well, it wouldn't go on the weekends, but like first thing Monday morning, they'd crank it on and start. Well, one time, I don't know why, I don't know if it had been shut down a couple extra days or what, or like I left some windows open. All of a sudden, like I wake up to just the smell of shit, and I legitimately had to like look around in my bed. I was like, did I shit myself? And I was like, I eventually realized like, oh no, it's just the treatment plant's really bad today. But
like, I'll never live this down.
I was like, did I have a dream and like I shit myself, or what's going on right now?
All right,
really confusing time for me.
So that's it, guys. I'm going to work a lot harder on bringing in guests to the show, and I'm going to try to find people around the city
so you don't have to listen to me every week.
No, it's been great having you, man. I want to keep having you back, but I don't know. I don't know if people like the show or not. Nobody tells me anything. The listenership is like steady. Like there's basically like 40, 50 people that listen to it every week.
If you want to be on the show, like just send John a message. It's like, it's not like he's gonna say like, oh, you're not interesting enough. Yeah. Like literally the only reason I'm on today is because no one else volunteered to do it.
Well, that's not the only reason. You're also a high quality commentator.
Well, I'm just saying though, like if other people had emailed you and been like, I want to be on the show, they would be on the show instead of me. So
well,
like,
you'd probably
don't think that you're not going to be interesting enough to be on the show. Like,
seriously, especially if you disagree with us. You have all the time in the world to build your argument and come on here and destroy me. That's what I want.
And just know, like,
we're going to have Master Sergeant.
John's not that intimidating.
No.
And Beef will be on your side because he just loves to disagree with John. So Beef's a lot bigger than John, so you're good on this show.
Exactly.
We should just start going door to door and
just invite. No, I know. There's
have you heard the good news about the radical agnostic?
Yeah. There's all these African guys that live here in this apartment complex, and I want to like grab one of those guys and get him on here and just be like, "What's Africa like?"
That'd be really interesting. We had right before I left the army, we got a new guy in our unit who was a lieutenant from Kenya.
Yeah,
and like just kind of talking with him about like the what it's like over
what
there.
it's like. I mean,
kind of blows your mind. 'cause
Yeah.
you don't know what Africa's like.
No.
You know what I mean?
And it's mostly not good, but I'm sure there are a few little good things.
But a lot of it's a lot more normal than you would think.
Is it?
Yeah.
In the cities, maybe, or
Well, especially in a country like Kenya versus more primitive country.
Yeah. Obama's going to Kenya finally to visit.
His birthplace.
Yeah.
Oh, his birthplace, John.
Yeah, he's actually going.
I haven't seen the birth certificate.
Oh, for God's sake!
I'm glad we're finally over that. It only
Well,
took 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, but poll the American people. You'll still get like 28% don't believe he's born here. It's insane.
Well, and you know who
Trump.
kind of started that.
Trump.
Well, and Trump was a big part of
Yeah.
it too, but
Palin?
Hillary Clinton,
What do you mean?
when they were running
During the
before
last
against
primary?
each other, the last primary.
Yeah. She didn't come out and actually say that she didn't think he was born here.
No, she didn't come out and say it, but her people are the ones who started the rumor about it
How do you know that?
because
Oh. Well, I'm convinced.
It actually won't surprise
No,
me.
the-
That's the sort of shit
Yeah.
that comes out during the
Yeah.
primary. Like,
Well, Ross Perot, dude, he got scared supposedly because he was leading. He was beating Bill Clinton and Bush Sr. in the polls. He was an independent candidate, just funding his own election, Ross Perot, and he was winning. And then he dropped out of the race like 8 months before the election. And he later came out. He said later that the Bush camp had it was something about Perot's daughter's wedding, and that the Bush camp was going to release like photos of some kind of bad photos of the daughter or some before her wedding. You guys look it up. It's really weird. So he said that's why he dropped out. Then he comes back in the race later and loses because you can't win the presidency if you drop out for a few months and then come back. So he lost, but he might have won. And he's look it up because it's a weird story. He said the Bush camp literally threatened him with releasing these photographs. So anyway. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. See you next week.